Hey, what's up, everybody? It is Friday night, October 30th, 2020. I want to welcome you to this edition of the Don Tony Show. I am Don Tony, and I got to be honest with everybody out there. I am extremely under the weather right now. It's not COVID, but I think just because in this neck of the woods, one day it's 60, the next day it's 40. It's been raining the last couple of days. Yesterday, I got caught in the rain without an umbrella, and today it just went downhill. I'm literally live on the show. I'm sifting my tea as we speak. And yeah, I probably don't need to show those little nuances. And yes, I'm going to be taking cold medicine any minute. It is what it is, everyone. I tell you, when SmackDown first started, not going to lie to you all, I told my fiance, I said, look, I'm going to take a nap. I said, I'll get the spoilers from Meltzer's newsletter. I could act like I saw it and everything, but 5 minutes in, my body was subconsciously saying, DT, that's not your style. People will know if you're lying, if you claim you saw something and you didn't. And I don't want to be like any of those goofs out there that claim they watch things and then they don't. Mean tonight, I saw podcasters on social media saying, wow, Lars actually can talk. That's why I'm wearing this shirt tonight. Lars, tribute to Lars. By the way, how did you all like that prediction that was floating around online tonight? All the goofs with their exclusive that was leaked out. The Survivor Series teams. Well, you look at that in the middle. Daniel Bryan, wait a minute. He lost against Jey Uso. Wait. How could that be? I got news for you. I wouldn't be surprised in storyline if Jey Uso has to give up his spot for Daniel Bryan. I'm not saying that's going to happen. Wouldn't surprise me. I come up with ideas on these shows. I like to brainstorm. Sometimes my ideas end up actually taking place, and sometimes they don't. Look, I don't make predictions on these shows. I give ideas. The one thing that I love that I've been doing since 1997 that some of you are only starting to realize now is my ideas usually happen way before anyone else's. And let's just take a step back tonight. Let's be honest. The Donzilla Army, my video army especially, you will remember about 6 weeks ago when Aaliyah and the potted plant with the nice ass, they showed up on Raw and they started doing the storyline with Murphy and Mysterio and Dominic and Aaliyah and Angie and Seth Rollins. And I came up with an idea, wouldn't be surprised the fact that Aaliyah is focused on TV. Wouldn't be surprised if maybe she ends up being the love interest of Murphy. Do a Romeo and Juliet storyline. And I remember I brought that idea onto Breakfast Soup Raw, and Mish said, you're out of your mind, you're nuts. Neil and some of you out there right now were saying to me, why does it have to be love? Why do you have to think immediately that there's a relationship? And then I addressed all the goofs out there that said, you're creeped out because a 32-year-old man could possibly kiss a 19-year-old woman in the middle of the ring. Yet, if it was a 19-year-old man in that ring and a 32-year-old, maybe older diva, it's a fantasy for some of you out there. But a majority of you out there thought, DT, I think you're a little bit nuts this time around. I think you're a little bit nuts. There's no way they would do something like that on TV. There's no way whatsoever. It happens. But what's funny? And he's a good friend of the show. That's why I let it go. I think I had a right to bring that out tonight because so many people laughed. And how many ideas have we come up with that people thought we were stupid? And this guy, is like, well, you did say that Shane McMahon is going to be the leader of Retribution. I give ideas. Doesn't mean that all my ideas are going to happen, but when they do happen, it kind of feels a little bit good. Now, where this storyline goes, remember, the Romeo and Juliet saga. There was a movie not too long ago, Romeo, I don't know, takes Manhattan or something. I have no idea. But you think I watched that crap? But you know Aaliyah is going to start rocking some more sexier outfits. You watch. But anyway, how's everybody doing tonight? We only, 12 hours away from Halloween. And if you notice, I'm not dressed tonight. Unfortunately, Wario is going to be stored away for a little while. For anybody that missed, 2 weeks ago, I dressed up as Mario on Wednesday Night Don-O-Mite, and then people wanted to see me do Wario. That's for the hater potatoes out there. From now on, we don't get really nasty at them anymore. We just call them hater potatoes. They want to act like children on social media, and then we'll treat them like children on social media. Hater potatoes. Kind of like Lars's promo tonight. What did he say when he went to school? Freak show, freak show. Everyone look at the freak show, freak show, freak show. I don't know where some of these storylines are going. Jey Uso, now seems to be in Roman Reigns' camp because he feels like he must, for his family, for his name. And we talked about this a week or two ago. I know I had that conversation with Mish that, I'm not certain. And you might remember when we were talking about the idea of Jey Uso joining up with Roman Reigns. And if you remember, my biggest problem with it is Jimmy Uso. We don't know. When you're sick, probably not the right thing to do is squeeze tea bags with your bare fingers, Take that finger out of your ear. You don't know where that finger's been. Nice. Lemon Zinger, by the way. Oh, in a little while, I want to pay a tribute to a friend that I had not talked to in quite some time. I mentioned him on Monday. Mike Frigerio passed away. And I remember I told you all about how he helped me get Mexico's Most Wanted into USA Pro. And I said that I ran and bought multiple copies of that magazine. There you could see Halloween, Sabu. That is the event, and I will show you later. And what's cool about this issue, and I'll show you later, is the centerfold. This is Super Luchas magazine. So I went through boxes before trying to find that. Because I got lazy, and I'm like, I don't feel good. I'll just do it next week. I'll do it on next Wednesday show. Then I was thinking, come on, you showed love to Mongo so many times over the years. You lost touch with him. He dies a couple of days ago. You owe it to him to get off your lazy fat ass and try to find the magazine. And that's what I did, and I found it. So we'll show that later on. Pretty cool. I have 7 of them. I mean, when I found, I'll tell you the story later. But anyway, we got to talk about the AEW NXT quarter-hour ratings. Hey, a lot of you out there, including yours truly, all said Wednesday NXT was going to be AEW. We were all way off on the numbers. I sucked this week with prediction ratings. I honestly did not expect so many wrestling fans to come out in droves. And I got news for you. I'm going to say something tonight. Should I open right up with the quarter-hour ratings? Because we're going to talk about the Twitch situation with Paige and some others. And you might be very surprised what I have to say tonight. In fact, I know for a fact, based on one tweet that Mish posted today, Mish and I are going to have a heated debate on Monday. Heated debate. I'm drooling. You remember Wrestling with Shadows, the Bret Hart documentary? You remember when Stu, when he would have fresh meat to train and he would stretch people out, and people would go down in the dungeon and they'd act all cocky and he'd be there and his mouth would be watering and he'd start stretching people and then you would hear, ah! Remember that? That's what I'm looking forward to Monday. That's something that and it's funny because I brought this up too. When I went to school, I hated debate. They used to do debate, and I would get called on once in a while, and I avoided debate at all costs. And that was one thing that was tremendously missing on shows that I had done with co-hosts, that real intense debate. And I will tell you it's not going to be manufactured. We're not going to force it. But I will tell you, as far as the Twitch situation, especially Paige, this is the fence. I am here and Mish is here. And Monday, we will clash. It is going to be phenomenal. I'm telling you, I'm drooling. No one's going to win. No one's going to lose. But it's going to be, part of my language, fucking phenomenal. Look out for that. By the way, you know, a bunch of you out there are talking tonight a little bit about SmackDown. I know Neil and a few others are absolutely praising the Jey Uso heel turn. I got something for you. I got something for you as far as Billie Kay in a moment. Oh, this is for you, Neil. Seriously, this is for you. You know, I wasn't completely lazy tonight. In fact, when I found the magazine, I kind of got a little bit of energy back and I decided to take things a little bit further. You know what? I'll post it now. I'll post it now. You remember our conversation Wednesday and we talked about, who's the librarian, Peter Avalon in AEW? He looks like an anorexic, ravishing Rick Rude. He looks like some vintage robe manufacturer, you know, made a robe for ravishing Rick Rude back in 1988. And unfortunately, instead of doing XL, they did XS, and it's been sitting in boxes for decades. And Peter Avalon gets into wrestling, and he's like, yeah, I'm a librarian. What do librarians wear? And then he's looking around on probably eBay or, you know, wrestlingcollectibles.inc, and, you know, he's trying to find a robe or some type of attire that matches a librarian. So, stupid me, a fucking librarian. What do all librarians wear when they're wrestling characters? Robes that look like Ravishing Rick Rude. He looks like if Ravishing Rick Rude, like, unfortunately got some type of stomach cancer or went on a food fast that he's not going to eat until Donald Trump is no longer president. That's what Peter Avalon looks like. I said Peter Avalon looks like when you go to the diner. Ever go to the diner and you got those annoying children that don't want to be there and they're fidgeting and they're throwing forks around. Mommy, mommy, I don't want to be here. Mommy, mommy, man. And you're just like, I want to eat my fucking food. Shut up. And then the waiter or the waitress comes over and like, look, crayons. And it's usually just 6 crayons. It's not a full box because they're not going to spend money on you. And then they have like coloring things, you know, paint the numbers and all that. And then they do the thing like, what doesn't belong? I brought that up in the past. What doesn't belong? They'll show a tree. And inside the tree, they'll show a cat. They'll show a monkey. They'll show a grasshopper, and then they'll show the lion. And what doesn't belong? The lion. Well, for Neil, just for you, and for anyone out there that may work in a diner, you might come across a really, really pain-in-the-ass kid on a Friday night that's a wrestling fan, doesn't want to shut the fuck up. So I give you permission. You could print these up, and this way, you know, when a kid comes in, you could give him one of these, like what doesn't belong. See, on the top, we all have hats. And then there's a pair of glasses. The glasses don't belong. Then you got the second row, and it's all beach stuff. You got a beach ball, you got goggles, you got fins, you got a life preserver, and then you got the planet of Saturn. What doesn't belong? Then you go to the next line, and you got a hot dog, you eat it. You got a hamburger, you eat it. You got pizza, you eat it. You got a taco, you eat it. And then they have, I don't know what that is, lightning beer or something like that. And then you go on the bottom. You know, tonight's match on SmackDown for a spot. And the funny thing is, I honestly thought for a minute, Billie Kay will get put in and this way we'll have the ultimate confrontation that we've been wanting to see in the Women's Royal Rumble now for years. Come on, that match, that brawl that you always wanted to see. No, not Tamina and Nia Jax, but Billie Kay and Lana. You know, so I thought, hey, you know, but yeah, you look at that. You see a match like that. What doesn't belong? Let's be honest. Now, I know some of you out there, I'm not shaking. Some of you out there are going to be a little wise asses and say, well, DT, you know, if you really want to think about it, the EST is in a class all by herself. And if she's in a class all by herself, then she's the one that doesn't belong because she is the greatest, The EST. No, Billie Kay doesn't belong. So you see, dining fun with Don Tony. That slurp is just for the audio-only crew. They're listening with the volume all the way up, and then I take the sip. Like, stop that! I won't do it again, I promise. But that's for you, Neil. That's for everybody out there. I'm trying to get myself in a good mood. I'm pissed. I wanted to dress for Halloween one last time tonight. I was going to do like 80s guy. I had the stuff inside. But I just felt like shit. So I figured, you know what? I'll throw the AEW root beer on. You know, I am wearing shorts, but, you know, I could kneel on the chair with no shoes or socks on, and we could do that infamous pose, but we'll leave it alone tonight. So... all right, one more time. For those on audio only, Neil Ray, he didn't send a super chat, but we'll pretend that he sent a $50 super chat. He just wanted me to tell everybody that still have not made the move to video. He told me to tell you this. I know. What's this guy approaching his 50s acting like a goof for? Yeah, I call people goofs. I admit it. Sometimes I act like a goof too. The difference is, you know, I'll tell you to your face. I don't have to lie behind people's backs. So I'm a goof too. We're all goofs. We're just trying to have a little bit of fun, right? So anyway, you want to see something stupid? Because honestly, there's not a whole lot of news to get into. It's SmackDown, ratings, Twitch. The quarterly financials I'm doing next week. I want to sift it through, and I want to read everything myself, and I want to point it out. I'll talk to Mish over the weekend. Hey, Mish, you interested in talking about the financials? And if he says to me, what are you fucking behind? Then I'll just do it maybe next Wednesday, next Friday. But I don't know if you got a kick out of this. You know, we got an election coming up this Tuesday. Really? Yeah. And, you know, one of the things that is absolutely terrible in 2020, no matter who you want to vote for, is that a lot of people have to vote in fear. They can't publicly show or announce who they want to vote for because they get ostracized. You know, as much, and this is the thing that really, this is why I decided to keep politics off of the shows as much as possible. And this is why, as of right now, I ain't voting for either one. To be honest with you, with all due respect, and this is not pro-Trump or anti-Trump or anything like that, but I'm going to make one point. And every single one of you out there, whether you like me or not, you're going to say, it is true. I see people from everyday people that have no blue check marks, that are just regular folk in this country. I see people overseas. I see celebrities, musicians, politicians. I see role models, I see leaders, I see all of these people saying we need to get Trump out of office because he is killing this country, hurting this country and everything like that, blah, 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 okay? Because Trump, his attitude, it's disgusting, he's mean, he's this, he's that, he's this. And those people that are telling you they want to get him out of office because of how disgusting of a character he is, the minute you turn around and you say that you're voting for him, those same people who are so offended at Trump's disgusting behavior will now get disgusting behavior on you and embarrass you and threaten you and dox you because you want to vote for that guy. Just think about that. The very thing that they are absolutely bitter and nauseous about, they do themselves. I saw today with Matt Riddle. Did you see what happened with Matt Riddle? All right, if you're not aware of it, they're now just calling him Riddle. And I know somebody's saying, how the hell does this guy go from Trump and Biden to Riddle? All right, Matt Riddle. I wasn't even going to bring it up tonight. Few of you wanted me to, but WWE's decided to start calling him Riddle, similar to what they did with Murphy, okay? The difference is, Buddy Murphy, you know, there's no lawsuits or anything that I'm aware of, you know, why they changed the name. But in the case of Matt Riddle, the word going around is that the reason why WWE's decided to change his name to just Riddle is because when you Google Matt Riddle, all you see is the Candy Cartwright lawsuit. But if you Google just Riddle, you don't see almost any of that. And I'll be honest with you, in a business standpoint, that is kind of smart. But people were going apeshit the last 24 hours about this. And Matt Riddle is basically telling everyone, look, everyone, it's okay. You know, people call me just Riddle in my real life. It's not a big deal. It's my last name. Leave it alone. So most of those people had to obviously backpedal. And then you have goofs online that are now, because Matt Riddle said it's okay, you know, before Matt Riddle said anything, they were either silent or trashing WWE. The minute Matt Riddle says it's okay, you have these goofs that are saying, look, everybody, you know, stop making a big deal about this. You know, why are you bringing this up? This is, why? Leave it alone. Don't bring it up. Meanwhile, they're the ones bringing it up. They're addressing people for bringing it up by bringing it up. See, me, I never did that. That's why I'm bringing it up. But getting back to the Trump thing, you know, the very behavior that these people say that they despise, they do it themselves. And that is basically what's going on in this world, and it sucks. And that's why I've pretty much just blocked myself out as much as possible, as far as politics and everything else. But Tuesday, we have an election. I don't know what's going to go down. I have my thoughts as far as where I think the election really is going to go. And, you know, some people think that I'm crazy. But one thing is for certain, no matter who ends up winning, there's going to be crazy turmoil going on. And it's people are going to use it as an excuse to do what they want. You know, the bitter hatred from Trump, if he's put back in office, you're going to see innocent people assaulted that they're paying the sins because they helped bring him back in office. If Trump is not reelected, then you're going to have a part of the country that is going to literally light candles every day that Biden doesn't die in 4 years. Because if Biden dies and Kamala Harris is president, everybody fears about socialism coming into this country. So no matter which way you look at it, there is unrest coming. And I try to stay away from it. But here's where we get lighthearted about it. You know, when I talked about people who expose and dox people for supporting President Trump, I don't know which website had this, might have been Politico, but they put up the last day or two a list of all these celebrities that are voting for politicians. And they brought up Trump. And on this list, not only do they show the name of the celebrity, but they also give a little bit of negative background about that person. Give you an extra reason why you should dislike them. And lo and behold, on that list is Ronda Rousey. Now, for any of you out there that have normal-sized computer screens, I will enlarge it like this, okay? Ronda Rousey, you know, she is more of a conservative, and she publicly supported the Democratic Party, Bernie Sanders candidate in 2016. She is an anti-feminist at times. And they also noted that she was arrested during a WWE event in 2019. Okay? So I'm looking at that, and it's on both sides. You know, I'm not saying that only people who are against Trump are doxing. It's on both sides. That's why I stay away from politics entirely. So I see that, and I'm like, got arrested. Last year was 2019. She went to have babies. What did she do? Knock out a gynecologist or something? Like, when did she get arrested? Then I go back and I look. This political website that wrote that about Ronda Rousey being arrested, would you like to see footage of her arrest? Because I got it firsthand. Unfortunately, I don't have the mugshot. I should have gotten the mugshot. But this is what they were talking about. Do you fucking believe that? That is what they were talking about. I have no words. I have no words. I would have popped it or said kicked out the windows of a police car. But you know why they probably didn't say that? Because right now, you know, the in thing in the country is to be against the police. So if you write down that she kicked out the windows of a police car, maybe a lot of people, even on the opposite side of the aisle, would say, you know what, good for her. Good for her, man. Good for her. Unbelievable. Unbelievable. By the way, last chance, everybody. Last chance. Screenshot it. Print it. Print it. Hurry up. Hurry up. So, by the way, I want to thank everybody who absolutely loved my simple costume on Monday, which was just a beard. I mean, people absolutely loved it. I told my fiance that I'm going to grow a beard. I kind of like the way it looks. It makes me look like a rough and tough. I look like somebody that would be like with the Harris twins, like in some biker gang or something like that. And she's like, I will break every bone in your body if you grow a beard. So I agree with her. I don't, you know, I'll keep this. I've had this since I was a teenager. You've seen, if you go on I was in my mid-20s at that time. You go to my Twitter, you'll see the picture of me with Terry Funk and Cactus Jack when they were WWF Tag Champions. So, yeah, I'm in my 20s. But if you look, I don't think it's, oh, no, I changed it. You know, when I usually show this, no, that's not even it. That don't look like me. That one does. But I changed it. I used to have my graduation picture in there. You know, if you look, you'll see a little bit of peach fuzz. Very, very little bit of peach fuzz. When I was graduating high school, I wanted to be older so bad that when I would go out to clubs with my friends, I would take that little bit of peach fuzz, and I'll put the full-blown graduation picture here next time, but I used to take one of those eyeliner pencils that my mom would used to use to like make her eyebrows a little darker and stuff like that. I would take that, I would rub it in, I would go like this, and then very, very lightly, I'd go like this, make it look like that. And most of the time it worked. Until you were hanging out and you were sweating like a pig, and then you would start seeing like all this mascara just like smudging all over your face and you look like a goof. So I really did that. I really did. No joke. No joke. No, if anybody really wants that picture, I'll, just go to my Twitter. I post it. You could just download it. So, but anyway, you guys want me to talk about SmackDown first, or the ratings, or Twitch? Those are the three things we're really going to get into tonight. Oh, and why? Because we're on an 8-second delay with the chat. It would be nice if I take this thing down. I don't know why there's two. There we go. All right. There's like an 8-second delay. So everybody out there, all right. I'm sorry for those on audio only. I'm very dehydrated. When I don't feel good, I get extremely thirsty and I sweat like a pig. When this is all over, people are going to think this shirt is black, not brown, from the sweat. All right, Twitch. Okay. Let's talk about Twitch. I want to put my notes a little bit closer here. All right. We've talked about this controversy already with WWE and third-party mediums. And the two biggest culprits in this deal is Cameo and Twitch. You notice how YouTube seems to be okay. And I'll be honest with you. I think YouTube and Paige, fuck Andrew Yang. And I don't mean that personally. I like Andrew Yang. But fuck Andrew Yang with everything they said, because, he talks and wants to stir it up. But when the actual work goes, I guarantee you some wrestlers have contacted Andrew Yang. Hey, Andrew, where do we go next? I don't even think Andrew said, here, take this business card, call this attorney, this and that. He basically, and you see now I'm putting the air conditioner on. I'm starting to really feel it. But the thing is that Andrew Yang brought up some very valid points. The thing is, at the end of the day, Andrew Yang is a politician first. And some of the things that may sound good on paper, in the end, could hurt pro wrestlers. Because you start insisting on health care. Does anybody in their right mind think that WWE is not going to lower the offering salary because they got to cover health care? What happens if WWE is forced to carry health care? Now AEW is forced to carry health care. And what about those that are under exclusive contracts for Ring of Honor and MLW? And the list goes on and on and on. You can't discriminate. You start going down this road, it affects everybody. And what's going to end up happening is some wrestling companies, look, this is no bullshit. And you know I never BS you over here. Okay, I've been doing insurance since 1998. I sell health insurance also. And I could tell you, right now, for me, I pay almost $1,000 a month for health insurance. For someone who has a wife or wife and kids, they pay $2,000 to $3,000 a month in New York for health insurance. Now, yes, in different states, it's cheaper, no question. But when you actually start adding up the amount of money an employer would have to pay to cover everybody for health care, companies will immediately go out of business, or they won't offer contracts, or they will offer lower contracts to offset that. When I brought up the diner in my neighborhood, I showed my fiance today, I showed her this one particular type of a cheeseburger deluxe that this diner sells that I had had a couple of times. Mozzarella cheese, mushrooms, you know, whatever. It was $8.95 before COVID strike. That same $8.95 cheeseburger deluxe is now $24.99. If I have to, I will post screenshots. I just don't want to out the diner, but everything goes up. Everybody pays in the end. So Andrew Yang, although he may hate Vince, and Andrew Yang may hate big business, and Andrew Yang may hate how the billionaires become richer and the people who get them the billions aren't making what they should, you start going up that tree, you know, you better be prepared to go all the way up the tree. You don't just say to someone, hey, look, you know, hey, climb that tree. Look, there's a couple of breaks. Climb that tree. Nobody's looking. Climb that tree. But you don't fucking help them. And if they climb up halfway and then they can't climb anymore and they fall on their ass, what are you going to do then? So I personally think Paige, more than Andrew Yang, it could be the biggest factor in this, because Paige has been obviously off TV for a very long time. And this is why I'm going to have this heated debate with Mish on Monday. Mish has no sympathy for Paige being upset that she's got to, you know, stop her Twitch account, or WWE's telling her she's got to stop and this and that. Now, let me just say this before I go any further. I understand why Cameo may be a problem, because WWE is now doing their own version of Cameo. I was lucky enough through a friend to get a free, you know, WWE Cameo this past Monday. And, you know, I gave it to one of our friends of the show, and Anna was able to talk to Kofi Kingston for a few minutes. Now, I didn't even realize the prices until after this whole Twitch update went down, and I see that WWE charges $125 for 2 minutes. 2 minutes. So I understand that if you're working with WWE and they're doing this, you know, their version of Cameo, you know, that could conflict with Cameo as an outside company. All you got to do is change the word Cameo to AEW, and you understand why you don't see a wrestler who wrestles for WWE also wrestles for AEW. When you work for WWE, even though you're an independent contractor, you're pretty much agreeing that you're not going to be involved in entities that are the same types of entertainment and revenue that WWE has. So if WWE is coming out with their own version of Twitch, then I can understand why, you know, they may look at that as competition. But the thing is that there's got to be some type of, I'm trying to think what would be the right word, but I'm trying to think, seniority or grandfather. I think grandfather is probably the better way to put it. That Twitch has not been around all that long, you know, or Cameo or anything else. someone signs a WWE contract and something like that has not been in existence. You know, if you have an existing contract, you can't, because someone comes up with different entities and this and that, because I remember they had that, what was that god-awful one? That video streaming thing that they did about 10 years ago. You remember that? Was it Tout? I think it was Tout. Nobody paid for the Tout. So they did Tout, which was a couple of but nobody paid to see the Touts. So I can understand why WWE when it comes to Cameo. But as far as Twitch, I have a ton of sympathy for Paige, because I believe a lot more about mental illness and escaping from problems through podcasts, through gaming, through socializing. Of course, the money is a big thing for Paige, but you also have to understand that Paige is not wrestling anymore. Paige is not on TV anymore. Paige is pretty much just sitting at home. So when Paige brings up the point that, you know, people have wrestling schools, people have YouTube, people do movies, I can't do Twitch, she makes a very valid point. And the thing is that AJ Styles this weekend basically said, look, you know, for now, I'm going to have to shut down the gaming. Aleister Black and Zelina Vega went on their, I don't know if it's Discord or YouTube, and they told everybody that, you know, it's not goodbye forever, but for now, we're shutting it down. Mia Yim, one sentence, you know, goodbye for now. Paige, though, got very, very emotional, and a lot of people saw it. Now, I have a little bit of the transcript, and I'm sorry for the vulgar language, but I want to read word for word of some of the things that she said. And she said that, I understand if they're like, you're wrestling every day and doing shows every day, but I'm an injured wrestler. I get used for media stuff sometimes, but at the end of the day, I'm in my house going fucking crazy, and I need something to keep me sane. Twitch was my escape. Right now, I'm just sitting on my fucking ass. People think I should be thankful that I still have a fucking job, and I am. But it doesn't mean I should be treated like fucking shit. I have my neck taken away from me twice. You can't take away my Twitch too. I'm going to keep streaming. We'll see how that goes. I haven't been used on TV for a year. This is our fun where we could be ourselves. That's why we're here and on Twitch. We also have a wonderful community. What's the pocket change we're getting compared to billions that these people are getting? We're not hurting anybody or doing anything harmful. We're just having a good time. People are on YouTube, have merchandise, wrestling schools, and Twitch gets taken down. I've honestly gotten to the point where I cannot deal with this company anymore. So now I have to make a very important decision. I'm fucking tired, man. I broke my fucking neck twice for this company. Over fucking worked. I broke my fucking neck twice. All I wanted to, they don't realize that this community isn't just about fucking subscribers. It isn't about that. We built a wonderful family where this is an escape for a lot of people, including myself. Then she adds, I had a terrible couple of years where I had a tape leaked out about me where I popped a couple of drug tests because I was in an abusive fucking relationship. And that's the only thing I could fucking do. See, people think I should be thankful that I still have a fucking job. But I should not be treated like shit. And then she finishes up saying that she's going to keep on streaming and, you know, she's grateful, you know, as far as being involved in WWE. But I truly believe this, seriously. I think that Paige is the key for wrestlers to be able to continue to have their Twitch and stream. Because the thing is that to be part of Paige's network on Twitch, you don't have to pay anything. If someone wants to pay, that is their choice. And if WWE wasn't smart enough to figure out a gaming channel and have subscribers and this and that, you know, they're not always going to be first to the game. So my point is, you know, I can only imagine even though Paige has got nice money coming in, she's turned her life around, she's got notoriety and everything like that. But how many times have I said on these shows, especially over the last 9 months, that, some people, are going to be more famous than us. They're going to make more money than us. They're going to have more stature than us. They may have more pull and leverage over us. But people do bleed the same at the end of the day. People still all cry at the end of the day. And we have seen people, unfortunately, take their lives out of depression. Depression is not just based on status or a blue check mark or how far you go in this world. Mental illness and depression applies to everybody. You go from, I don't want to name any specific celebrities outside of wrestling, but you could come up with a ton of them. So my point is that I think Paige really, look, it's a lot easier for us to say because we're not working for WWE. And what is Paige's worth in wrestling outside of WWE? Nobody knows. Nobody knows. But the thing is that when she talks about being in a real bad place because of the video that was leaked out, because she did drugs, because she was in an abusive relationship, because she was young, because, she made mistakes like a lot of human beings make, that feeling, when I always talk about, you see it, there's people on Twitter that you could just look right through the computer and realize that they're just writing anything to get some type of acknowledgement back, that they need to have even 10 likes to feel relevant. And that is the poison of social media that I've been talking about for years and years and years. When it comes to Twitch and you got 10, 15,000 subscribers and everybody is just getting their mind off of everyday life, and if they want to give Paige $20, if they want to give Mia Yim some money that she's raising because she needed to help a funeral for a friend, that's between the fan and whoever the person is on Twitch. That fan is not entering some type of a contractual agreement. No one is forcing anyone to buy a WWE t-shirt. No one is forcing anyone to buy a WWE pay-per-view. No one is forcing anyone to buy an AEW ticket. No one is forcing anyone to buy a DVD. No one is forcing anyone to go on Paige's Twitch channel and give her $10, $20, $5, $50, $100. That's up to them. And again, YouTube, I think, is going to be the smoking gun out of all of this, because on YouTube you have super chats also. And there's not that much difference in the end of the day. And I think Paige had also mentioned that she is talking to some attorneys to see what can be done. I personally think, and it's very, very selfish for me to say this, and it's much easier for me to say because I don't work for WWE. My neck is not broken. Yes, I'm a lot uglier and a lot older than Paige, but I think if Paige continues her streaming and goes against WWE's demands, let WWE try to take Paige to court, then vice versa. Because I think what's going to happen, my gut feeling, I'm not, claiming to be any type of law attorney or anything like that, but I have done enough research and reading to see how everything works. I think if she resists, I think WWE is going to be forced to cave, because it's going to create a giant snowball, and you're going to see other people in wrestling that are going to back her up. And then you're going to have fans backing her up. And then they're going to back other people up. And at the end of the day, like I said, if WWE comes out with their own gaming channel and, Paige, they want her to be part of it and this and that, all right. And don't give me this up, down, down stuff, all right? But if really, I think Paige is the key here. No Andrew Yang. Paige is the key here. And I think Paige knows that, and I think Paige's mother knows that also. Because Paige's mother basically wrote a 1 or 2 sentence comment online. I don't have it in front of me, but it was obviously in support of her daughter, basically saying, like, everybody's got your back. Paige's mother didn't have to write that online. Paige's mother is Paige's mother. All Paige's mother has to do is call her and tell her that over the telephone. But by posting that online, it basically allows other people to copy it, like it, retweet it, post it, agree. And I think right now, for all the fans out there that love YouTube channels for wrestlers, for all the fans that love cameos, all the fans, well, cameos is different because WWE does their own now. But the point is, as far as Twitch and YouTube, especially Twitch, for everyone out there that loves that interaction, whether it's a pro wrestler or just one of us, I think Paige is the key here. And I think if Paige resists and she gets terminated because of that, that would be a very, very interesting, possible wrongful termination lawsuit. Because yes, we have seen examples of what WWE contracts look like, but you don't have anything specifically talking about this type of form of entertainment. It's playing video games. You're playing video games with a camera on. That's what you're doing. And to interpret a WWE contract to think that you're not allowed to do that, I'm playing a video game with a camera on, and if someone wants to throw $20 my way, I have to give it to WWE. And even if WWE comes out with their own Twitch, Paige being on Twitch is not competition to WWE. It would be in WWE's eyes because they decided to venture in a project that is going up against something successful. But the point is, unfortunately, WWE didn't come up with that idea first. And I think, look, I put in the title for tonight's episode that some WWE stars cowered under pressure from WWE. And they cowed down. And you have to understand, AJ Styles got a family. Mia Yim, she's trying to keep a career. So I understand why some people feel it's not worth it. I don't want to cause problems. I wouldn't even be surprised if some website comes out that the reason why Mia Yim was moving around in the ring Monday like a fish out of water is kind of a little bit of an insult her way because of her Twitch channel and throwing the little comments online. Wouldn't surprise me if somebody even reports that. But I will say this. You remember when WWE furloughed a lot of people. They released people also, but they furloughed some. And on the conference call this week, they said that almost all of the people who are furloughed will be back by the end of the year. Take notice of all those websites that ignored that. When people were furloughed, you had all these news websites that were basically saying, Vince, go choke. Fuck you, Vince. But now WWE in a conference call to investors, not to ProWrestlingAsshole.com, but to investors saying we plan on bringing back mostly everyone we furloughed by the end of the year. That's a big deal. Nobody's talking about it because they don't want to stick to the negative side about it. But if you remember when WWE made all those releases, I agreed with it. I agreed with it because I tried to think with this and not just with this. And it's very easy to think just with this, but you also have to think with this also. You're an entertainment company and you're not touring and you're in the same building. You don't need 25, 30 agents. You might only need 5. So even though it might be the right thing to do to keep them on the payroll because we're in the middle of COVID, but at the end of the day, it's a publicly traded company. You have investors to answer to. You have, and your business, it should never be a negative thing that you made $30 million in profits, $50 million in profits, $10 in profits. That's the whole idea of opening a business. If you're going to open in a business with the idea that, I can make a whole lot more money, but I'm not because it just looks like the right thing to do. I wouldn't invest in your fucking company. I would be like, oh, that's a nice thing to do. And then in the back, I'd be like, this person doesn't know a damn thing about business. So I hope that in the end, these WWE stars are able to keep their Twitch. Even though you see some of them still on YouTube, if they're going after Twitch, WWE, they got to go after YouTube as well. Because you could use YouTube as an example as to why are they allowing people on YouTube. So you know what? They'll force everybody off of YouTube as well. Like I said, Andrew Yang is definitely has good intentions in mind. And Andrew Yang has every right to bring up how the evil rich just get richer and the people who are responsible for them getting rich, you know, are not getting richer. I understand. I mean, it's a noble thing to do. But you're creating a situation where a lot of wrestling companies could close as a result, and people's pays will go down. Nothing is free, and nothing is handed out. And, you know, it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. Like I said, on Monday, I'll get into this further because I know Mish 100% disagrees with me on this. And, you know, it'll be a fun debate. I mean, we're not looking to kill each other. And the one thing that I love about Mish is he doesn't take it personal. Like, I could have a heated debate with him, and then when the show's over, even if we're screaming at each other, because we've had, the last one we had that was really, really intense was Velveteen Dream. But when the show's over, we're both like, man, that was good. That was good. Nothing personal. You know, you can't take it personal. So, yeah, no headlocks on Monday. Absolutely not. That's the worst thing, man. When you have two people that are feuding and they want to put their hands on each other and they can't wait to tear each other apart, and they finally have a match on pay-per-view, and the first thing they move is a collar and elbow tie-up or a headlock. Oh, man, I want to throw up when I see that. I almost want to throw up when I see this. You know, I'm being a little bit comical about Billie Kay. You know, I want to see her get better, and there's no reason why she can't get better. You know, there are some slow learners. There are some people that are, you know, what do they say? They're all thumbs. So Billie Kay, unfortunately, after all of these years, is not further down the food line, you know, in the experience department. But you know what? That's where great trainers come in. You know, you look at, that's why I praised Finlay on the Q&A very recently. We were talking about wrestlers from, I think, Ireland. And Finlay doesn't get enough love and praise for what he has done behind the scenes for women's wrestling over the years. And there was some women that were god-awful in the ring. And Finlay, you know, turned their careers around. Not to legendary Hall of Fame status, but, you know, Billie Kay is still very young. She could still put it together. All she's got to do is just, you know, figure it out in the ring. You know, her promos are fine. She's obviously attractive to look at to everyone. So, you know, we'll see what happens. But for now, though, I unfortunately have to say, you know, she doesn't belong in those three. You know, so anyway. So, you know, in the comment section tonight, if you disagree with me about the whole thing with Twitch and Paige, tell me. You know, I definitely would love to hear your opinion on it. And make sure you tune in Monday, because that is definitely a topic of discussion for sure. So, by the way, for anybody that is interested, Jake Hager did win his Bellator fight. It was a split decision, and he now goes to 3-0. He beat Brandon Carlton, who was 2-0. Now he's 2-1. I usually don't watch MMA, but I watched some of Jake Hager's work, and I mean, we already knew he was a tough son of a bitch, but he definitely put on a really good performance. And I like the AEW trunks, by the way. Jake Hager, not Jake Roberts, Jake Hager. So, all right, so we talked about Riddle. We talked about Paige. We talked about Twitch. We talked about Ronda Rousey. So let's talk about SmackDown for a little bit. And we'll talk about ratings and get out of here. So it truly will be an early night for yours truly. And I need it. Because as soon as I'm done over here, I'm going to bed. Every day this week I got up between 6 and 6:30, and there was some late nights with the shows, and I can't thank you all enough for tuning in. You know, I appreciate it more than you can imagine. So it's very humbling. So thank you. Thank you. So SmackDown tonight, really what was SmackDown all about? Starting to announce names for the Survivor Series teams. Also, the progression of the storyline of Jey Uso and Roman Reigns. I definitely got a little sidetracked before, but what I was saying earlier with Jey Uso is that if you remember the discussion that Mish and I had about the possibilities of where this was going to go, the one thing that, you know, I had expressed concern with is if Jey Uso joins up with Roman Reigns, whether by choice or by necessity, because there is a difference, you know, where does this leave Jimmy Uso? I don't know how close Jimmy Uso is to returning, but the Usos as a tag team are absolutely necessary. Absolutely necessary. Now, Jimmy Uso is ready to return, and Jimmy Uso also falls in line with this storyline and is part of, you know, Roman Reigns' side, then that's fine. Because I think people forget the Usos were heels in the past. They weren't always baby faces. And the Usos were pretty damn good as heels too. So the Usos can still remain a team, and maybe that's good because it puts a little bit more power to the Street Profits. Because the Street Profits, as being the #1 babyface tag team on SmackDown, they pretty much have it all by themselves. So, you know, let's see what's going on. Let's see. I don't know if we're going to get Jimmy Uso versus Roman Reigns first. We could very well. I still think that if The Rock is able to return and wrestle Roman Reigns at WrestleMania, I don't want him in the corner of someone, but if The Rock is able to have this WrestleMania match, I brought it up a couple of weeks ago, The Rock is absolutely necessary for this storyline. The Rock makes his return. He sees Roman. He hugs him. You know, hey, what's going on, this and that. And then The Rock obviously, you know, has a confrontation with Roman Reigns. What are you doing to the family? You're making people choose sides and this and that. Well, you know, you don't have this power. Then it's going to be really interesting to see where this goes. I don't know. I've said this before. I don't know if Naomi's going to be involved in this. Right now, my gut feeling says no. My gut feeling says no. And Naomi, I believe, is a Raw wrestler now. So even with that, more of a reason why I don't see Naomi as being a part of the storyline. But then again, hey, we don't know what the hell's going on with Tucker. Tucker was on Main Event. I think he lost to Humberto Carrillo. I guarantee about 95% of you out there didn't even know about that. He's still being shown as a SmackDown guy on WWE.com, although that could have changed by now. But I don't think that, I agree with you, Best. I don't think Naomi should get involved in this. You know, because you got to remember something. This is nothing against Naomi. It has nothing to do with her black or anything like that. This is about bloodline. Bloodline. Naomi is a wife. Naomi is not part of the Samoan the family, not on the Rock side. It's not like Naomi was part of their blood and, you know, Uso was the outsider. So that's why I don't really think Naomi should be in this story. I think only Bloodline should be involved in this storyline. Bloodline. Maybe Rikishi does make an appearance. We talked about that last week. Jimmy Uso obviously has to come back now, and he has to address his brother. He either, you know, is against his brother. What are you doing, man? You know, or he ends up joining up as well. I will say this. They definitely need to have Jimmy get involved in this storyline rapido. Because if Jimmy Uso runs to the ring at Hell in the Cell to save his brother, and then he's incognito for a couple of weeks while his brother is joining up with the person that choked him out, Makes no sense. I don't care if the Samoans marry Chinese, Italians, blacks, whites, straight, gay, Asian, Japanese. My point is, the only people that should be involved in this storyline are the Samoans in the family. The bloodline. Appa, Sika, The Rock, Rikishi, Roman Reigns, the Usos. Everybody from that side of the family. You know, I don't want to see children, spouses, this and that. And it's nothing against them, but you start having 20, 30 people in this storyline, it's going to turn into a mess. So keep it simple. Let it stick to the family. I think we could all agree on this right now. WWE is doing, and not even just WWE. Let's say it like this. Roman Reigns and Jey Uso, even Jimmy Uso last week, are doing a fabulous job in this storyline. Fabulous. Fabulous. And remember what I said about a month ago, that when you get the opportunity to do feuds with family or close friends, you know, there's an extra element involved, because when you have that personal connection with someone, it's just common sense, human nature, that you subconsciously just amp it up an extra notch. Oh, that's for my brother? That's for my cousin? That's for my best friend? You know, I'm going to go 10 times more out for this. So, yes, Kira, they're killing it. They're killing it. They're doing a fabulous job. And the thing that's great about it is, you know, we don't have like 5-star matches with all this crazy shit going down in the ring. It's a psychological. And the best thing about it, that you don't hear anybody bringing up. This is probably, out of everything I've talked about with this storyline, what I'm about to say right now is probably my most favorite part of this storyline. You know what that is? It's PG. It's PG. How many times have you had people, we're all guilty of it at some points, that the Attitude Era, you know, PG sucks. PG sucks. And I have said so many times over the years that I remember when I was a kid in the 80s and the 90s when it was still PG, and there were many moments that I absolutely loved. Some were borderline PG, let's be honest. See in the back, Jake, Macho Man with the snake, I wouldn't kind of put that PG, but the point is, PG wrestling has gotten a bad rap because of the Attitude Era, because of ECW. When wrestling, and it's not even just that. I mean, you could go to Smoky Mountain, you could go to Memphis, you could go to FMW, you could go to many other promotions over the years. But as far as mainstream wrestling goes, you know, the Attitude Era and going over the top, it was so realistic and so violent and so, you know, just the energy that set the new bar. That was the new bar. So when you did things that were, that's why back in the 80s, if you had someone in a headlock for 2 minutes, you know, the commentators would commentate, you'd watch the match, and it would, you know, lead to wherever. And now, once things started getting a lot more, you know, rapido in the ring and energetic, you put someone in a headlock, it's boring. You know, people that used to win on a drop kick, like Rocky Johnson, 2 drop kicks, sunset flip, 1, 2, 3, done. You do that now, and it's like, fucking drop kick. You know, that's why everybody does tope suicidas and all this other stuff. So, you know, this is PG. That's the most fabulous thing about this storyline. Anybody ever again tells you that PG wrestling sucks and I wish Attitude was back and WWE is so watered down right now and that PG is killing them, bring up this storyline and let's watch them stutter. Watch them stutter. Or they'll just ignore what you're telling them. So, anyway. So that was pretty much the setup for SmackDown tonight. Roman Reigns opens up the show. Jey Uso is in the ring. And Roman Reigns is telling Jey Uso that he loves him. Jey Uso is telling that he hates him. And basically now Jey Uso is like going to be an like a servant for Roman Reigns. And, you know, you got Jey Uso is almost unhinged. Roman Reigns, calm as a cucumber. I told you. Blah, 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 blah. I love you. This, that. I don't love you. Who you did? I hate you. I mean, unhinged. Yeah, no. I totally disagree with you, my brother. Jeremy Westbrook, the Attitude Era did not mess up wrestling. The Attitude Era took wrestling to a whole new level. A lot of us who are older always felt without Hogan and Vince, WrestleMania 1, wrestling would not be where it is today. But the Attitude Era with Austin The Rock and everything else, you know, everybody involved in that era, other feds as well, that made it possible for wrestling to sort of be where it is today. Put it this way. Look at it like this. What did we have in the WWF before the Attitude Era? We had Freddie Joe Floyd. We had MVP, and I'm not talking about Hurt Business. Dun, 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 dun. We had the Goon. We had Bad Gimmicks. I mean, some people think 1994, 1995 is some of the worst years in WWF's history. So if you take away the Attitude Era, and we had just that for the last 10, 15, 20 years, where would wrestling be right now? Would it be on this level? I mean, do you think Tony Khan and people like that would have been like, you fucking kidding me? I ain't getting involved in that fucking corny, clowny crap. Triple C, corny, clowny crap. So, no, the Attitude Era basically took the cartoon era and basically said this, and everybody needed that. So it obviously got to a point where, okay, you know what it's like? I'll tell you, I don't know if anybody's ever made this analogy, and if someone has, give them credit too, but I think I just came up with a really good analogy. The 80s and the 90s, the early 90s cartoonish WWF era was like someone who was like a baby to their preteens. That, you know, they're not getting in trouble, a little bit, you know, too childish and very, very safe and this and that. When Attitude Era came around, that is someone who is now entering their teens and their 20s. And no fucking rules, go out partying, drinking, driving, this and that, just, you know, no serious relationships, just do whatever the fuck you want, not care about responsibility, don't want to show up for work, no problem, don't want to do this, no problem. And then it gets to a point where you have to grow up. And when the Benoit tragedy happened, when the steroid controversy happened, when some additional deaths happened in wrestling, it's now like someone who has settled down. And now you're an adult. Those partying years, you can even look at it like Paige. You know, those partying years are now over. And now you got to get into a little bit more responsible, you know, years. And that's what WWE is right now. So, oh yeah, Psycho Attitude Era was awesome. It was awesome. You know, there was moments that even I was a little bit embarrassed of, but it was really awesome. So, Jeremy wants to add, he feels that, you know, I'm right, but there's no way to reach that bar again. Yeah, we will never reach that. The only way you'll ever revisit that like it was is if the culture dictates it. You know, I always bring this up that you got to think back to the mid-90s. You had Girls Gone Wild that came around that time, maybe a little bit later, but you had Girls Gone Wild. That was a big deal. You had Ultimate Fighting, which was really underground still. You know, you had that realistic, you know, bare knuckles fighting. You know, you're coming off of Mike Tyson, you know, that just like took boxing to another level and that viciousness. So, and it's not only that. We now had the internet, And, you know, there was just a real outcry of just being against authority. You know, there was just the culture in the mid-90s, Nirvana, grunge, which, you know, was around that time as well. You think of just everything that was going on at that time, Beavis and Butthead, you know, South Park. I mean, you just go on and on and on. The Maury shows were out of control. And yes, Maury is still around, but the reason why Maury is still around is because of the stuff that went down at that time. And he wasn't the only one doing those shows. That's why you had like Current Affair and all this other stuff. It was just the climate craved it. And that's what made it work so well. And if you notice, you had the Parents-Teacher Council that were outraged. Parents didn't want their kids watching it. It was adult entertainment. But now, because the PC culture and the world we live in, and there's 50 million organizations out there, and all you got to do is just breathe the wrong way and you're offending someone. Right now, the culture does not demand it. So you will not see that going on. So, Neil, I didn't forget what you said. When I get to that match and the other discussions, I'll definitely bring that up. So I don't want to do it out of place. And anyway, one person I'm about to bring up. So no fears, no fears. I got it aside for you. But, you know, that's how I look at it. But, so let's talk a little bit more about SmackDown. We'll get back to some super chats and then we'll discuss ratings. So Roman Reigns, Jey Uso opens up the show, and basically Roman Reigns gives Jey Uso until the end of the night to basically, you know, go in line and pay the consequences for saying I quit on Sunday. Then they announced 2 qualifying matches for the SmackDown team. And again, I got a kick out of that leak that came out earlier. And sure, it could end up being Daniel Bryan in this match. Maybe a twist of the storyline and Daniel Bryan gets put in. Who knows? But everybody was certain that Daniel Bryan was going to defeat Jey Uso tonight. And we had Kevin Owens taking on Dolph Ziggler. Opening match tonight was Dolph Ziggler losing to Kevin Owens for a spot in Survivor Series. It's funny, with the early days of Retribution, remember when I said that Kevin Owens would be part of the team and turn and maybe join Retribution? I wish that would still happen, man. I'd love it. I'd love it. I think Retribution needs a different leader. Nothing against Ali, but the way the whole storyline's been presented, since Ali has become the leader of Retribution, they've done nothing but lose. They talk a good game in the back, but they don't show it in the ring. But Robert Roode was in the corner of Dolph Ziggler. Later on in the match, they eject Robert Roode, and, you know, it ends up that Kevin Owens, you know, gets the win. Dolph Ziggler tried a couple of super kicks. The last one failed. Kevin Owens hits the stunner. 1, 2, 3. Kevin Owens is the first member of the Survivor Series team. Now, it's interesting that WWE is really milking the teams, because at the end of the night tonight, as far as I know, we only have 1 woman added to Team SmackDown and only 2 added to the men's side for Team SmackDown. Yes, on Raw they only announced 3, but we already know the 5, unless they do a switch. Maybe Lana can't compete. Maybe that final table spot broke her. I don't know. There's been so many rumors of Charlotte being part of this. We don't know. But, Neil, I wouldn't want to be the leader of Retribution, man. Look, I know the storyline is, I think we can now say it sucks. And we have every right. We've given it enough time. It sucks. But Dijakovic, Madden, Yim, even Shane Thorne, you know, they're very talented. So they're getting some TV time. It sucks that this is what they're getting, but they got to make the best of it. That's the story right now, and you got to make the best of it. So, We have in the back Adam Pearce. They're trying to figure out members for Team SmackDown. Billie Kay, for some reason, I don't know what she was smoking, but some reason she feels she deserves to be on the team. Nattie deserves to be on the team. Bianca Belair. So Adam Pearce makes a match. Them three with the winner becoming part of the Survivor Series team on the women's side. And I think it was Neil that said that Billie Kay works out, but she's has a flat bum. You know, it's funny because I think of Riddick Moss when I think of working out. And again, I try not to joke too much about Riddick Moss because I truly think that he might have had some form of atrophy. When I had my car accident in 1996, I had dropped foot on my right foot for about 10 months. They had to mold. I still have it stored away. Maybe I'll take it out of storage one day and show you all. But they had to mold a plastic, like almost like a brace. And I don't. If you want to look up drop foot, you'll see what I'm talking about. It was they took a mold of my lower leg. And if anybody, I mean, maybe I'll take a picture in shorts and you could see it. But my right calf is about 2 to 3 inches smaller than my left calf. Because when I broke everything over here, my calf never grew back 100%. I had atrophy for a little while. And when I had the drop foot syndrome, they had to put literally, it's a piece of plastic. Your foot sits on top of it, but that piece of plastic also is behind you, like up your leg. So you have, the best way I could describe it is, okay, this is your foot, and this is the back of your leg. And you have a brace that you slide into your shoe, and you put your foot in the shoe, and then behind your leg, you have a piece of plastic that goes up to right below your knee. And what that does is, because the plastic is rigid, when you walk, it forces your foot to lift up. And by repetition, you start to regain strength in your toes. When I broke my foot and I shattered everything, when the doctor used to say on my left foot, okay, lift up your toes, and I would do this. When you say on my right foot, lift up your toes, I'd be able to do this, I'd be able to do this. So from repetition, it got stronger and stronger and stronger. It took about maybe 10 months, but I was able to get the strength again in my foot. But my calf, to this day, it's still about 2, 3, 3.5 inches smaller than the other one. So Riddick Moss, that guy works out like a mofo. But if you look at his legs, I mean, he's got what Elix Skipper had on his neck. That's what it looks like on his legs. It looks like he never works out on his legs. His legs look tiny. But I have a feeling he had some type of issue that led to atrophy. That's why I try not to joke all that much about it. But look, Billie Kay has got a phenomenal physique. And I have said it many times. I thought the Iconics team was terrible. Yeah, they cut promos, they'd scream, they'd be annoying. I truly think without that, and especially the country they came from, because WWE is such a melting pot, I don't think they would have gotten the opportunity to go this far. So they're trying to keep her, and they're trying to do something with her. And let's hope that she turns it around. I mean, this is one thing. Sure, it's funny. It's funny for me to do this. But at the end of the day, none of us want to see her get fired. You know, if we had a choice, Billie Kay get fired or Billie Kay get better, I would rather see her get better. You know, why not? So, you know, one thing I think we could all agree on, it's going to get to a point where WWE may say, look, we've tried, and it just doesn't seem to be working out. You could see already that there's no momentum behind her at all. And, you know, I agree, Ben, you know, realistically, maybe she doesn't get better. But, you know, I'm not rooting for her to stay, you know, in this situation it's in. If she gets better, I think that's pretty cool. So, let's see what else I'm looking at. comments over here. Yeah, the other two with ACH and some ECW stuff, I'll get into in a little bit because we really don't have too much left to cover with SmackDown. Corey Graves interviews Lars. Again, it's amazing. I see podcasters and websites commenting on Lars like they had never seen him cut a promo before. These are the people who, for all these years, said that they watched NXT. They forgot the promos he cut in WWE before he got injured. And I've even brought it up in the past. You know, this guy, you know, when he talks, it's very intimidating. And basically, you know, they're trying to reintroduce Lars to fans, talking about his childhood, being made fun of. You know, Lars even says to Corey Graves, you know, you want to call me the freak, and aren't you a freak also? You know, obviously Corey Graves, you know, his hair and his style is a little bit more conservative now than before, but, you know, made some valid points. And basically Lars, you know, just talking about how, you know, he's going to make WWE hell on earth. I like it. You know, I've been rooting for Lars for a while. Yeah. And look, if you still don't like him, I respect that. But for some of you out there saying that you like the promo and you liked what it is, you know, it's funny that, you know, people like to make fun of him, you know, being the freak because he's not 6'8" or 5 chins or, you know, 3 eyes, or he's not, you know, just whacked out. You know, freak is not just how tall you are or how heavy you are, or, you know, there's a lot of people out there. I know some people that are 50 pounds lighter than me that are freaks, man. Fucking scared shit of those people. So for me, Snitsky or Lars, it's a little too soon for me to vote on that because Lars still has a lot. I mean, he still hasn't even found his footing. I will tell you at this stage of the game, if you want to compare Snitsky's beginning to this, I kind of like Snitsky. It's not my fault, and he had the teeth and all that. Then he did the stuff with Lita and kicked the baby. I mean, that was later on. Then he had the foot fetish. You know for a fact that if Lars ends up working out, and I don't mean working out as gym, I mean, but working out on TV, you know that down the line, they're probably going to do some type of a comedic storyline with him. Or they're going to do some type of a storyline trying to think, almost like, you know, like he is an ugly freak and an attractive person, lady, you know, kind of like likes him or something, like that odd pairing. I'm not saying that that's what it'll be specifically, but you know down the line that they will tweak his character, and we'll see where it goes. I mean, personally, you got to leave him evil right now. I don't know if he'll be in SmackDown team, but it would be cool to see him go up against, you know, a big man on Team Raw. So we'll see. Bianca Belair winning the 3-way against Nattie and Billie Kay. Basically, what they were trying to set up in this match was a lot of faux pas. You know, like one person attempting to punch one and nails the other and this and that. I think a lot of us at some points thought that Billie Kay may do similar to what Lana did and sneak a victory. But in the end, you know, we had Bianca Belair actually get the win. And, you know, it's the right way to go. I mean, you look at Team Raw on the women's side, and it's SmackDown, they're starting off right with Bianca Belair. And they started off strong enough that they went off the air with only one member on the team. So we got to see who builds for it. Now, Carmella will be on next week. So we will find out if Carmella ends up being part of Team SmackDown. Another person who might end up being on Team SmackDown is Bayley. Now, I know I'm going a little out of place here, but Sasha Banks came out, cut a promo, and, you know, she brought out the chair that she used when she won a match at Hell in a Cell. And she's talking a little bit about Bayley and stabbing her in the back and everything. And then obviously Sasha Banks has the match against Asuka at Survivor Series. And Bayley comes out, and Bayley, starts trash talking Sasha Banks, saying that Sasha Banks cannot beat Asuka without Bayley. And we find out we're getting a match next week between Bayley and Sasha Banks. I have a feeling that Bayley taking on Sasha Banks next week is designed for Bayley to possibly end up on Team SmackDown. And the reason why I say that is they got to take the focus off of Bayley versus Sasha Banks for Survivor Series, because that's not happening. You have an Asuka versus Sasha Banks. So maybe to divert attention, they have the match next week. Asuka might show up, which I wouldn't be surprised if she does. And this may end up leading to, shifting that storyline away from Bayley and Sasha Banks and more on Sasha Banks, Asuka. Then what do you do for Bayley? You leave her off SmackDown's team for Survivor Series? No, I have a feeling she may end up being on the Survivor Series team. So we'll look out for that. We had a backstage segment with Murphy and Aaliyah. And Murphy wants to go to the ring and address Dominic and Rey. And, she basically is saying that, mom is happy, whatever she decides to do, and this, and that. And so they hit the ring. And all I'm thinking to myself is what I said 6 weeks ago that a lot of you mofos thought I was nuts about. And they hit the ring. And Murphy he says he can't blame Rey and Dominic for hating him and this, and that. And Seth Rollins comes out, cuts a promo, basically saying that Aaliyah's got Murphy under her spell. And this leads to Seth Rollins hitting the ring. And first, Dominic hits the ring. And you have Aaliyah in the corner, and she doesn't want Dominic and Seth going at it. Then Murphy throws Dominic aside. Murphy starts beating on Seth. And then Dominic has like a little bit of a push apart, like they're pushing each other, push party. And next thing you know, you have Murphy and Dominic brawling. It was funny when Rey came out, because when Rey came out, Rey looked like the younger brother of Aaliyah. He looked like a little child. I'm sorry, but when Rey hit the ring and he's looking at Murphy, he looked like a child. I mean, because it is tight. But am I lying? Seriously, when he hit the ring and I'm looking at it, I'm like, oh, two brothers. But Rey starts going at it with Murphy a little bit. And then you get the cheesy part. The cheesy part that I told you was happening. Dominic and Rey are telling Aaliyah, let's go. No, I'm not going. And the cheesy acting from Dominic looking at his father. It's like last week when Aaliyah went to the ring and they became like invalids in the back. They're just looking at each other. I mean, I was just, get the fuck back over here, you stupid motherfucker. Grabbed her by the hair. You ain't going nowhere. And even Rollins, talking about how, Rey was kind of keeping Aaliyah under control because, Rey, because she's young and everything. But, they're saying, vamos, let's go. And she's like, no. And Dominic with the goofy look on his face, looking at Rey like, what is she doing? Fuck out of here. And Dominic and Rey leave the ring. You don't know what you're getting into. Then we get Aaliyah and Murphy. She puts her head on Murphy's chest. And then you get this. And I'm watching it. And again, I know I've said it 5 times before. I'll say it again now. All of you out there, with all due respect, that are trying to make this creepy, that a 32-year-old male kissed a 19-year-old female. If it was switched around and it was a 19-year-old. How come none of you motherfuckers got creeped out when Shane Helms was going with Ivory? How old is somebody in the chat? Look up the age of Shane Helms and look up the age of Ivory. I don't know how old they were when they dated, but I want to see if there's more than a 13-year gap. Someone in the chat, I ask you, I beg you, do a Google search. Tell me how old Shane Helms is. Tell me how old Ivory is. Yes, the storyline was outside of TV. It was real relationship. But my point is, I didn't see none of you motherfuckers ever get creeped out when someone was dating. Okay. Oh, look at that. Oh, look at that. Look at that. That's like Vince. Remember 83? Look at that. Look at that. Ah, look at that. Look at that. I swear to God, I had no idea. Shane Helms is 46. Ivory is 59. Ivory's 59. No, 59. Yeah. Thank you, Michael Gonzalez in chat site. Oh, gee, will you fucking look at that? Let's see. Let's do some math for a minute, all right? You see, unfortunately, I don't have a math version of this, but let's do some math for a minute. Okay. Aaliyah's 19. Murphy is 32. 32 minus 19 is 13 years. 13 years apart. Ivory is 59. Shane Helms is 46. 59 minus 46. Man, it doesn't get any better than that. 13-year difference. I don't see none of you motherfuckers complaining back in the day when someone was dating someone at a different age. It's weird. If it's a 19-year-old man banging a 32-year-old woman, if you just focus on heterosexual for a minute, if it was a 19-year-old guy doing it, everybody would envy him. Take pictures. Do a hidden cam somewhere. Show us. We want to see. Come on, we want to see. But the minute it's a 19-year-old female and a 32-year-old male, that's why I think no one above the age of 21 or 23 at the oldest should post emojis. When they're posting that one emoji, what's the one where it's like, where like you cringed? Get off your fucking high horse. It's amazing that most of the people are offended can't even fuck an empty roll of toilet paper right now. It's the people who like have no relationships. It's almost like they're bitter. And I notice it's the older men usually, because they probably realize I can't get a 19-year-old. Hell, I can't even get a 49-year-old, And I mean, they just bitch and complain. If the roles were on the other reversed, it's a fantasy. But because it's a 19-year-old woman creeped, save me with your fucking political shit, your PC shit. So, anyway, so they kissed. They kissed. Remember the Romeo and Juliet storyline? I've only shoved it down your throats for the last 6 weeks. You have the Street Profits come out, not dressed as the New Day. I'm a little disappointed we didn't get more of a Halloween theme tonight. Man, we should add some Halloween stuff. Not just a screenshot of Mario Lopez. I'm not against Mario Lopez, but, oh, look, Mario Lopez and his whole family dressed up in it. I can't. There you go. That's kind of the cringe. Yeah. Austin Nance, shout out to you, my friend. There, he's got the emoji up, that cringe emoji. I see that, and I'm like, get away, seriously. But the Street Profits, they're not dressed as New Day, but they're showing appreciation for New Day, who, impersonate them, mock them, whatever you want to call it on Monday. And then we get a quick waste of a match, digging Cesaro and Nakamura further. Street Profits beat them again. And it is what it is. Sami Zayn cutting a promo on Lashley. I'm interested in that match, but there's no real emotion involved there. Nothing with Otis tonight. Don't know where that's gonna go. Then we had the final Survivor Series qualifying match tonight. Jey Uso beating Daniel Bryan. And it was interesting. And it's not because of that photo that was circulating, teasing that, Daniel Bryan was winning the match. But Daniel Bryan did an interview And he's basically saying like he thinks this is his last run in WWE. And, you know, Daniel Bryan's getting a little bit older. He's got a family now. He obviously had the real scares health-wise. So, you know, sooner or later, Daniel Bryan's going to be packing it up. Now, the interesting thing is, you know, we've heard people say, you know, I think I'm at the tail end of my career, and then they leave, and then they end up, you know, getting that fire again in a different company, whether it's TNA or AEW or wherever else. So, you know, it's not 100% that this is Daniel Bryan's last run, but you would think with all of that buzz and Daniel Bryan being back, you almost feel like, what benefit does Jey Uso have being in the Survivor Series match? Jey Uso should be strictly involved in the Roman Reigns storyline. Even though Roman Reigns is going to take on Randy Orton, Jey Uso should still be strictly on the Roman Reigns storyline. So you would think Daniel Bryan, to get a little momentum, you put him on Team SmackDown. It's only common sense, right? Jey Uso being on Team SmackDown, I don't know if that was even necessary, but Jey Uso gets the win today, and Roman Reigns' music hits. Roman Reigns hits the ring once again, and Jey Uso acknowledges that Roman Reigns is the tribal chief, and he knocks out Daniel Bryan, puts Daniel Bryan through a table, and Roman Reigns, with just the smirk on his face, Roman Reigns earlier telling Jey Uso, make him pay and everything like that. And you got the piped-in boos and the fans with the thumbs down. But, you know, this was a lot different than someone who is conforming out of necessity. Because remember, you're doing it out of force, or you're doing it out of necessity. Jey Uso came across as someone doing it out of force, or doing it out of necessity than force. You know, it wasn't like, do it. What are you doing? Do it. Do it. Kind of hurts, but, you know, you saw more of Jey Uso getting angry. And, you know, sure, in storyline tonight, Jey Uso didn't want to do any of this. So it's out of necessity. But it's not, so to speak, out of force. But I tell you, I love the storyline. You know, we got to see, you know, where it goes from here. I got to see if The Rock gets involved. That's going to be the turning point of this storyline. Someone obviously has to confront Roman Reigns. Someone. Sure, it could be any top babyface. Could end up being Big E. I don't think it'll be Otis, to be honest with you. But someone has to confront Roman Reigns. And I don't think, you know, Rikishi would be fine. Jimmy Uso would be fine. Any other member of Roman Reigns' family would be fine. But that should not be the pinnacle of the confrontation. I think the end game, whoever confronts Roman Reigns at the pinnacle of it, is going to be the one that might fight him at WrestleMania. We'll see what happens. I don't know about Nia Jax getting involved with this. I know some of you out there have come up with some ideas, but I don't see that happening, to be honest with you. But I thought SmackDown's show tonight flowed very well. If you add up the amount of match time, it was a lot less wrestling, in my opinion, this week compared to previous weeks. Not as many matches either. Yes, it's 2 hours compared to Raw's 3, but I still thought that the show flowed very well. And when you have a very strong storyline opening SmackDown and closing SmackDown, then you got something good. Kira wanted to see the Street Profits imitate New Day. Absolutely. I don't understand. We're 1 day before Halloween. I mean, I'm not saying that wrestlers should be wearing other wrestlers' tights right now because of COVID and sanitary. I mean, there's no reason why you can't just put it in a washing machine or get it dry cleaned or whatever. But I'm a little surprised we didn't see anybody really doing anything Halloween. No, I mean, you're not going to do parties because of COVID. You're not going to have everybody bobbing for apples in the same fucking barrel of water and stuff like that. But nothing. I mean, Mario Lopez, I mean, to me, that was almost on the level of seeing pixelated Matthew McConaughey last week. Pixelated McConaughey. But yeah, you would think that the Street Profits would have done a little bit of a shtick of the New Day. Why not? And they didn't do it. They didn't do it. I'm a little disappointed in that. Now, next week, Halloween's over. So that's it. They ran out of time. That's it for another year with that. That's terrible. So just what we were talking about before, Ken Terminated by DQ says, although it had Eddie, Chris, Scorpio, and Dean, I'm surprised I didn't talk about ECW. Oh, I did before. I said that, the Attitude Era and ECW being over the top and edgy, I mean, that was the reflection of the times. That, and honestly, without Nirvana and without that culture in the early to mid 90s, you wouldn't have had the Raven character, in my opinion. Early 90s, 93, 94? Raven was doing Johnny Polo. And then you had, Nirvana and grunge, explode around that time, maybe a year or so before. And just the entire culture was just, and look, I truly believe without ECW, you still would have gotten the Attitude Era, but it would not have been the way it was portrayed. Because when WWF started doing a lot of hardcore matches, it was like a watered down version of the ECW feuds. You look at hardcore matches in Smoky Mountain, you look at hardcore matches in other feds, the tone and the style was completely different. WWF made like a mainstream, like, I wouldn't say watered down version, but, they got very creative. All right, New Jack comes out with the guitar or the vacuum cleaner and, he takes the vacuum cleaner and lifts it up, it smashes it on someone's balls. Well, WWF's not going to do that. So you end up with Al Snow with a bowling ball, strike. So, but you got to understand something too. Ken, you bring up Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit, Too Cold Scorpio, and Dean Malenko. Those guys didn't really do hardcore matches. I mean, Eddie and Dean Malenko in ECW was all pro wrestling. You'd have some dives here. I'm surprised you didn't bring up Rey Mysterio and Psychosis, because they had that Mexican death match where they brawled outside behind the Elks, not the Elks Lodge. Oh, God, the Knights Columbus, I think it was. In the snow, and he did the Huracan Rano off of the hood of the car, put him to a table. Those guys were doing more hardcore stuff. But, Dean, Benoit, Eddie, and Chris was doing more straight up wrestling in ECW. And it was wonderful. It gave it a nice balance. But the hardcore stuff, I bring this up. I know in 2020 we could laugh at that, but believe me when I tell you, and I know some people that are tuning in live or maybe on the archive later, they will take a few seconds of their time and write this in the chat room and say, DT, I remember that clearly. But when I started doing my wrestling hotline in 1997, one of the things that people still bring up to this day is an infamous poll that I did. And it was either 1997 or 1998. I think the poll was in 1998. But I asked fans, be honest, no one's going to make fun of you. Just tell me yes or no. Do you think ECW is more real than WWF or WCW? And I think it was like 70 to 75%. And I was the #1 wrestling hotline in the nation. So I was getting thousands of people tuning in. And about 70 to 75% of everybody that tuned in, that voted on the poll, said that they believed that parts of ECW were real. And if you go back and you watch Paul Heyman I think during the Monday Night Wars, when they talked about ECW's influence on the Monday Night Wars, Paul Heyman at one point, it was either that or the Rise and Fall of ECW documentary, but Paul Heyman flat out said that some people back then would say, oh no, WWF, that's not real, but that is. And I remember that clear as day. And believe me, my hotline, you have thousands of people taking part in a poll, and 3/4 of them in 1997 or 1998 are saying, you know, not all of it, but a lot of what they did in ECW is real. People were convinced, and I remember people leaving me messages on the hotline in 97 when it was at the tail end of the feud with Raven and Tommy Dreamer. Tommy Dreamer finally got a pin on Raven because Raven was leaving to go to WCW. And this is all from memory, so I don't think I'll get any of it wrong. And by the way, I think on Wednesday I got a year wrong when I said NWA invaded WWF in the mid-90s. I think I said 95. It was really late 97, so it's my bad. But the thing is, Tommy Dreamer had finally beaten Raven. It was 1997. The event might have been as good as it gets. I'm not sure. But he pinned Raven. And what I always remember is I remember mostly the people in the front row because they were the most visible. They were like, all right. Like you knew the feud was over because Raven was leaving. Then the lights went out. And that's when you had Jerry the King Lawler show up. So the way they totally backed away from Raven and Tommy Dreamer's feud to Jerry Lawler and the whole that it just, and then Jim Cornette made the one appearance. But my point is, when we were looking back at the Raven Tommy Dreamer feud, there were people, a lot of people that didn't know each other that would all leave me similar messages, like when Raven and Tommy Dreamer did that segment when they were in the bar and started brawling in the bar. They said that was definitely real. They turned that into a storyline. It was amazing. And these were not like 8-year-old, 10-year-old fans doing. These are grown adults that were convinced ECW, maybe not all of it, but parts of ECW, what you saw on TV was real. And, you know, when you could suspend disbelief that much, even though it was just the mid-90s, that's when you know you're doing something pretty good, seriously. So, Maddens Elite. He said Bruce sucks on his live stream and got a warning on YouTube. Is Bruce that insecure? Are you talking about Bruce Pritchard? Look, YouTube is a weird thing, man. I'm still new here. I'm here, what, 9 months? I mean, there's still a lot that I'm learning about YouTube. WrestlePalooza, thank you. Thank you. Sam, was as good as it gets when Beulah fought Bill Alfonso. I almost said Mike Alfonso. That's Mike Awesome. Rest in peace. Yeah, WrestlePalooza 97. That's what it was. Thank you for that. But look, YouTube is a weird thing. I wanted to post a clip of what Paige was saying because I really felt bad for her. She got really, really emotional. And, you know, she's a human being at the end of the day. You know, but the thing is that people were telling me you're going to get copyright flags from posting like a clip on Twitch. And I'm like, is Twitch the one flagging it or would it be Paige the one flagging it? And some people said, no, it'd probably be Paige flagging it. And I'm like, wait, she's fighting WWE so she could game with people, but then people want to just show a clip to defend her on it, and she would be putting copyright complaints. So my best advice to you is I would be very careful of anybody that you criticize that has power on YouTube or, you know, don't use footage. I know there's people out there use screenshots, you know, that I would just try to avoid it at all costs. And if you're going to criticize someone, you know, just word it as opinion. You know, if you think he sucks, you know, put it more as an opinion and explain why. And it probably wouldn't get flagged. You know, the interesting thing is, and this is pretty amazing when you think about it, and I know why. I've been doing this since 97. not saying it to brag, but I'm just, when you look at it like this, you'll think about it. I've been doing this since 97. And I have not obviously played video clips of stuff. But even when I was doing audio only, I would put full matches, I would put promos, I would play clips of stuff from TV, and never once did I ever get a demand to take something down. The only company that had a little bit of a problem with what I was doing with the history show was Ring of Honor. Ring of Honor does not like anybody playing full of anything, and you almost have to have bullshit music playing in the background when on top of it as well. I'm like, fuck that. You know, when CM Punk was cutting his promo and he was going to sign with WWF or WWE, you know, like I wanted to play part of that, and I got to add music to it. I'm like, fuck that. Not even going to bother. But the thing is that, you know, over the years, you know, if you praise something or if you are very, very, you know, fair in what you say, even if you criticize things, you do get some leeway. Because I'm not going to lie to you, I've had people that have podcasts out there, YouTube and none, that still are baffled to this day why they always got flagged for everything. Yet me, I never got flagged for nothing. And you can't use the excuse, well, DT, you don't have any people tuning in. You know, I've been easily the #1, you know, non-professional show over the years. Yes, not by myself. Obviously, other people involved with me deserve credit as well. But the point is that I have been on the radar with these promotions before. When TNA was still around, I don't remember who the other show was. Mish, I think, knows. But it was me, and it was another show, and then Mish got added to it, that nobody that worked for TNA was ever allowed to go on any of our shows to do interviews. And I remember when I had confronted it, Breakfast with Blassie, like 12 years ago, I was like, I don't fucking interview anybody anyway. You know, other than Conan Drive, I didn't interview nobody. I'm not looking to interview nobody. So what does that mean? But, you know, WWE went after me when I tried to push the Hardcore Homecoming. You know that story already. It's on YouTube when I ended up trademarking ECW so I can push the button. So I've been on the radar. But when it comes to all my stuff, you know, over the years, I've actually, you know, people have told me, keep doing what you're doing, man. There's people actually work within WWE who I get PM once in a while, man. Keep up the good work. Keep doing what you're doing. Stay focused. Keep eye on the prize. There's one person right now that's in WWE. Every time we DM each other, he always finishes with the same phrase at the end. Eye on the prize. Eye on the prize. Eye on the prize. So, you know, I think you got to be a little bit fair. You know, I mean, I've criticized Bruce Pritchard in the past, but I've also defended him. You know, I did that Hugh Easy podcast earlier this year, and Bruce Pritchard came up, and he asked me if I thought Bruce Pritchard was a fraud or if he's a bullshitter, and I explained in detail why I honestly thought that he wasn't. But I also gave him a little bit of criticism. They never got flagged. So you gotta be a little bit fair, you know. But you know, it's probably the best advice I could give with that. So anyway, very quickly, you know, obviously, you know, we were talking about this the other day. We unfortunately lost Tracy Smothers this week. Passed away at the age of 58. I want to just even this a little bit. 58 years old. It's a little better. Yeah, there we go. Go check out my Q&A that I recorded Monday. One of the persons that sent in questions for that Q&A asked me. He had met Austin and others over the years, and they were all very, very nice to him. He asked me, who I have met over the years that were the nicest. And when I answered his question, I know I've said some of this before, but when I answered this question on Monday, I said, there's a difference between being nice and being cool. And I brought up a whole list of names of people I've met who are nice and some who are really cool. And I said that the one person that I met who was both nice and cool was Tracy Smothers. Anybody that's followed me over the years have heard me tell the stories. When he was, and everybody talks about, his tag team names, in Smoky Mountain, wherever he was, but my favorite tag team name that he had was the one in XPW. When he and Chris Hamrick were Southern Comfort, take on the alcohol, I love that name because they're from the South. I always thought Southern Comfort was a fucking awesome name. And give me his pistols and his, it was fine at the time, but Southern Comfort, I loved that name. And what I had said on Monday was whenever he would come to the Northeast, in fact, if you go back when I paid a little tribute to Supreme, who died this year also, if you go back and you rewatch what I said that day, one of my memories was early in the day, Tracy Smothers in the ring with a whole bunch of guys who drove the ring to the arena, helped set it up. I remember Ken Scampy. Anybody remember Ken Scampy? Not the podcaster, but the wrestler, Ken Scampy and others. Asked them. They set up the rings. I even think Ken Scampy was promised to be able to do a little work with Shane Douglas the first time XPW went there and they screwed him over. But Tracy Smothers did workouts in the ring with all of these young guys. And everybody just soaked in everything that Tracy Smothers was telling them. And I just sat there watching the whole thing in amazement. Tracy Smothers was by far the most intelligent person I ever met in wrestling. I didn't even know the guy. And anybody that worked in XPW that was there for the beginning in Philly will vouch for me on this. Every single one of us went out to eat. And we were sitting in a restaurant. There was about 20, 25 of us. And Tracy Smothers is right across from me. And he had asked me, what do you do? Am I a wrestler? And I said, no. And I started explaining. And I said, no, it's my real job, I do insurance. He starts having this conversation with me about insurance and finance and investment. And this guy talked for me for about half an hour. I was everybody at the table was either management in XPW or a wrestler, and Slash, who was not a wrestler, but he was the big part of Northeast, obviously. But he just sparked this conversation with me. And when people were talking this week about his friendship with Chris Candido, that was glaring. I mean, they got along so well and would joke with each other, and I saw it firsthand, man. Tracy Smothers was awesome. And the one thing that I take pride with is, I know it sounds like a broken record, but anybody that's been following me, I understand some people get angry when I tell old grown-up Don Tony stories. I think they understand that I still have a very new audience now going on YouTube, and there's a lot of people that are only discovering the shows now. So a lot of the stories that I may have told over the last 15 years, not everybody that's tuning in is a 15, 20-year, follower. They're new. So that's why I obviously bring them up again. And it's funny because you'll see wrestlers do interviews, and they'll talk about the same storyline 800 times over the last 10 years, and nobody complains, But anybody that follows me knows I've always sung the praise for Tracy Smothers. And what I said on Monday on the Q&A, he had not passed yet. So it's just sad, but at the same time, it feels good that on Monday afternoon to just flat out say he was easily the nicest, coolest person I ever met in pro wrestling. And, you know, he passed on. So he's out of his pain, and that's the most important thing. Now, still, it just blows me away that, you know, people are not mentioning this guy. I mean, we had a referee. I hate using this as an example, but we had a referee in the Northeast pass away not too long ago. You had all of these websites, our thoughts and prayers, our condolences, this and that. Nobody fucking knew who the person was. This guy dies, got no attention whatsoever. And anybody that's followed me over the years knows this person by name because I always called him Mongo. And again, if you go back when I paid tribute to Supreme a couple of months ago, I said I was sitting front row with Mongo, who was the guy that sold all the Lucha masks. That was the connection to bring the Lucha guys. When I drove Damien, Halloween, Psychosis to the arena, the first time I ever met these guys, and we're in Howard Beach where I live, and I'm like, you guys hungry? I picked them up from JFK Airport. And I'm like, you guys hungry? Yeah, we're hungry. Yeah, so we're driving down Cross Bay Boulevard. They see Kentucky Fried Chicken. Chicken. We pull in the parking lot, and I've told this story before. And we walk in there, and they're fucking around with each other, pretending like they're going to throw each other around, and somebody recognizes Super Crazy. And, you know, make it ECW. But the thing is that then we're going down the boulevard and they see some, like, hot girls walking down the street. And like, oh, baby. You know, I don't want to say who was doing it, but I had flashbacks when I got jumped. When I first got my license at 16, I'm like, please, I don't need that again. But I drove all the way to Philly with these crazy son of a bitches. So when I get to Philly, here's fucking Mongo. I'm like, what did you do to me? You know, these guys, I mean, I laughed my ass off the whole trip. But, you know, he's the one that brought all the Mexican stars to XPW. And Mongo, I can't tell you how many times after the events, him and Dorothy, myself, Matt Zombie, Bryan Damage, you know, a couple of times we go out to eat after, break bread. He was the guy that got Mexico's Most Wanted in USA Pro Wrestling. Little quick story. Because I'll make this a little more mainstream and you'll appreciate it. A lot of you remember Matt Stryker, okay? It's an infamous story here. And yes, I was a nobody, not understanding the business completely. But I also always defended my hotline listeners, people that followed me. And I thought what was done was very shady. And I know for a fact that some of the women involved were very, very angry. Let me tell you the story. See this? You see, this is a match. And if you look on the left, you'll actually see Mike Frigerio. You see his name under Luchas? Hopefully you could see that. Maybe I got to do it like this. Is that a little clearer? And she took all the pictures of the shows. See, Sabu, Jimmy Snuka, Mexico's Most Wanted. This is in a Mexican magazine, okay? Sonny was there too. See, Sonny? It got a lot of attention, all right? Oh, and by the way, I was saying before, like, who made the centerfold? Chris Jericho. So anyway, it was February 2010? No, February 2004. 2010. 2004. My God, 16 years ago. We were doing an event called St. Valentine's Day Massacre. And I was pushing this big on my hotline. And Frank Goodman, the Mass Maniac, always wanted to have Sabu and Jimmy Snuka team up together. It was just an absolute fantasy for him. The thing is that they had nobody that they can face against. I'm just trying to pull it up again. So he wanted a tag team to take on Sabu and Jimmy Snuka. Now, Jimmy Snuka obviously was already up there in age. We're talking 2004. And I had suggested to him Mexico's Most Wanted. I had known Mongo already for 2 years by then. I had met them many times before, picked them up at the airport a couple of times. Very, very cool people. And they were pretty reasonable money-wise. So, long story short, the Masked Maniac says to me, he's like, all right, you think Mexico's Most Wanted would be the right team, but you're paying for it. And he says, if we do good with the shows and everything, I'll give you the money back and this and that, through the ticket sales, but you're laying out the money. Because if it ends up being a disaster, I'm not taking a hit for it. So I said, okay. So through Mongo, we got Mexico's Most Wanted. So this is Super Lucha's magazine in Mexico, and they did this whole story on it. This is in a Mexican magazine. And this magazine is what Mike was involved in. And he's like, dude, you got a 3-page story in the Mexican magazines for that match. I'm like, no way. So I went out and I got 6 or 7 copies from him, Mike. And I was like, I can't wait to tell the Masked Maniac. I can't wait to tell him. And I contacted him. I said, you're not going to believe it. We made the Mexican magazines. He's like, unless they're buying the VHS tapes, he says, I could care less, you know, which was funny. I mean, he didn't mean it that maliciously, but Dorothy did the photography. I can't tell you how many times we hung out after Jersey All Pro, after 3PW, after XPW, and he was the guy. And a lot of you probably met him buying lucha masks, you know, at various events, but he died this week. He got a stroke. I guess he was just on life support, and he never pulled through. He was 58 as well. So I wanted to pay a little respects to him, you know, and it's really, really sad to see so many people ignore so many deaths, especially in the world of pro wrestling, unless it equals to hits. But that guy was really, really good people. And pisses me off that for how many years did I say on these shows, man, I hope he's doing well, Mongo. Oh, I always wanted to, you know, reach out to him, and I haven't heard about him. I don't know what he's doing. And lo and behold, you know, I get alerted this week that he fucking passed. So, really, really shame. But, oh, so the Matt Striker story, a few people are asking about that. The same event, we came up with an idea. We were going to do a St. Valentine's Day contest. And all the women of USA Pro Wrestling were going to dress up. Matt Striker, I'm not against Matt Striker. But for people that know me for many years and want to know why I never liked the guy, it's always this story. But, you know, I understand now why things ended up the way they did, but I still thought it was fucked up because I don't really want to out her name, but there was one woman in the contest that was absolutely devastated of what happened. I think some people will probably be able to figure out who it was, but the story was this. They were going to do a Valentine's Day contest, costume contest, and whoever dressed up the sexiest, fans were going to be able to pick the winner. But what I did on my hotline, and the funny thing is, if you do a Wayback Machine search, do a Wayback Machine search to wrestling-news.com, February 2004. Go back, you will find the original article where I hyped up this event. And what was happening was I was collecting money from fans through my hotline. Fans through my hotline were sending in money because they were going to give a gift, the prize, to whoever won the beauty contest. It was a beauty contest. So my idea is, okay, we'll let the fans be interactive with it. It'll get more fans to the show. They're contributing real money, so they're actually part of, you know, the prize, and the fans pick the winner. So we had raised on my hotline, I'd say about $300, and throughout this whole time, Mass Maniac knew that I was collecting real money from fans. Matt Striker knew I was collecting real money from fans. Now, if they would have said to me, Anthony, because I wasn't DT yet, Anthony, this is fixed. It was storyline. Don't collect money from people because, there's only one person who's going to win. Now I would have been like, okay, no problem. But nobody ever said anything. So for me, like a goof, for about 6 weeks, I'm collecting money from people and I'm pushing it. And like I said, go back to Wayback Machine and go search my website. February of 04, you'll see it. January to February of 04, you'll see the hype. So anyway, long story short, they do the event. Now, some of the women in the contest knew that it was a real contest. There was real money involved. Fans were going to pick the winner. You go back to my advertising for the event, I had big capital letters, fans pick the winner. So some of the women took it very, very seriously. One in particular made her own costume and got the most cheers. And what ended up happening is because at the time it was a storyline, Matt Striker was involved with Becky Bayless, which you knew as Cookie in TNA. And the storyline was that she was winning this contest. She did not win the popular vote that night in the building. And what happened was I gave the money up to the Mass Maniac thinking that, the person, whoever the fans vote, is gonna get the actual money. I thought I was doing a good thing. Raising $300, a female is going to get it that doesn't normally get a payday in USA Pro Wrestling. I thought it was a pretty cool thing to do. And they were all for it. Ends up, they give the winner of the contest to Becky Bayless. It's not her fault. She didn't know at the time. But Matt Striker takes the money and money was gone. One female in the contest was very, very hurt by it because some people truly believed that the contest was going to be a legit contest. And when he had the controversy with WWF with the teaching stuff and him not showing up teaching and he was and he got fired, that's why at the time I fucking loved it. To me, that was my karma. I have nothing against him now. I understand, he wasn't doing anything malicious or anything like that, but that's the same event as this. So, and I have it on video. But, so Benjamin, why I didn't get in touch with Mongo? Because honestly, I never knew his last name. All I always knew him from is Mike and Mongo, and I always remember the lucha masks. And the thing is that one Mexican wrestler, I had emailed him about 4 or 5 years ago, asking him if he still kept in touch with Mike, and he said, no talk to Mike for a long time. And that was it. There was no reason to reach out. When Timmy passed away, Timmy Arson, who you knew was the ECW zombie, when Timmy Arson, when we did the funeral, there was talk that he might have showed up. I don't know if he did. I couldn't go, so we sent flowers instead. But, Guardian of Chaos. But Guardian of Chaos, though, in hindsight, though, it was my fault with that contest because there was a storyline going on at that time with Becky. And I should have put 2 and 2 together and, took it upon myself to say, okay, they're not going to go against that storyline if somebody else wins. And I should have never, I don't blame Mass Maniac because he just wanted more attention to the show. Thing is, I don't think he ever thought in a million years that I would collect that much money. When I was doing the bus trips for XPW, people brushed it off like, you know he's going to go. And I sold out 3 buses every time. Some of those XPW events in Philly, half of the crowd were my bus trips from New York. That's why, if you notice, even the first event, Bryan XL, who a lot of you know now, because he's still involved behind the scenes, you go back and you watch his first match when he was teaming up with Smokey Carmichael, I think it was, you hear a loud background chant, NYC, NYC, because half the building was NYC. So, but there you go. So anyway, we're going a little bit over time. So before I go, let's talk about the ratings a little bit. Let's talk about the ratings. But rest in peace, Tracy Smothers. Rest in peace, Mike Frigerio. Mike was also known as Mike Mindless. And, I don't have the pictures in front of me, but he was part of a rock band as well. I mean, if you look at him, I mean, you see the picture of him here. I mean, I always said he looked like Meatloaf to me. He was a big, intimidating dude. So you go back to the XPW events, you'll always see him sitting front row. First event, you see me with him. And then you'll see Dorothy around ringside, always taking pictures. So, rest in peace. But let's talk about ratings. Again, we all knew, we pretty much had an idea that AEW was going to lose this week to NXT in the ratings. Anybody using the excuse like, oh, it was a themed event, still, fans decided to watch NXT over AEW. And the quarter-hour ratings tell a very good story here. What you learned about the quarter-hour ratings, and some NXT fans may not like this. Some diehard NXT fans may not like this. They're realizing now that these over-the-top gimmick matches, look, having Shotzi Blackheart spin a wheel is cute and everything, but that's only about 45 seconds of the whole night. But the gimmick matches get the attention. And we've talked about Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano being very disappointing in the ratings. You go every week, we point it out. Gargano, unfortunately, I still remember that match with Timothy Thatcher, and you had all the NXT quote-unquote fans around the plexiglass, and they're banging, and they're into it. This is awesome. And I was like, I can't wait to see his quarter rating, because if there were real live fans there, I don't think they would have gave a fuck about the match. And sure enough, they did under 600,000 at that time. Johnny Gargano and Damian Priest, unfortunately, are two guys that always had disappointing numbers. Damian Priest main evented NXT recently, very disappointing number. But weird, isn't it? Do a Falls Count Anywhere match with a little bit of a graveyard setup, and the ratings suddenly go nuts. Yes, Wardlow versus Hangman Page, decent match, but as I told you Wednesday, was probably going to get eaten up in the ratings going against Gargano and Damian Priest. So when I get into these numbers, you'll see some people that never pop a rating got a nice rating. WWE is going to take notice for this. They can't always do themed events. They can't do a pay-per-view type event every week or every 2 weeks or even every 3 weeks. But you're going to see more and more and more and more gimmick matches to draw extra attention. Damian Priest and Johnny Gargano, seriously, they have to be very, very happy with this number. Because, as I said repeatedly, and you follow me every week, you know it, those two guys pop nothing. Put a little gimmick behind them, ratings. AEW's got to be disappointed, but. Did you find any websites this week that mentioned that at certain points, it's funny. This just shows how dumb some people are. There are people out there that are actually saying right now, do you think someone that's registered with Nielsen could get counted twice for watching both shows? You may not have realized yet why I just want to just biff them in the... I want to just lick my hand. You ever do that in the back of your neck? Lick my hand and go, like, really? I just want to slap them so fucking hard. Explain something to me. Just to show you how stupid these people are. If somebody's in their house and they have a Nielsen box or they have two boxes and someone says... could have possibly been registered twice for watching both shows? If that's the case, Why would a particular week would you shut one of the boxes off? Tell me how that makes sense. And if you have two boxes, you usually don't have two TVs in the same room. You have one TV and you maybe, like me, I have a TV going, I have a laptop going, and I have my computer going. I have the laptop with NXT, the TV with AEW, and my computer taking notes. If I had Nielsen boxes, it's only one per household. But even if there was two, it would be hooked up to my other cable box in the other room. What am I going to do? Out of spite because NXT sucks, I turn the TV off? That'll show them. People think before they talk. But have you found one show or one website point out that it points this Wednesday, wrestling drew almost 1.9 million people? Did you hear anybody say that? Let's get into it. AEW, hour number one, 791,000 viewers. Hour number two, 771,000 viewers. For a composite of 781. Opening match of Hangman Page. Opening match, Hangman Page versus Wardlow. Did 818,000 viewers. I'm not going to go back and forth, but I'm going to go back and forth just once right now. NXT at the same time, they had Gargano versus Damian Priest. Their opening quarter did 922. Add those two together. Almost 1.74 million viewers were watching wrestling at the opening quarter. That's on the level of Raw. So let's get back to AEW. So quarter one, Hangman Page versus Wardlow did 818,000 viewers. The next quarter, which was Jon Moxley's interview, Eddie Kingston's interview, and Eddie Kingston versus Matt Sydal. Unfortunately, that match dropped from 818 down to 726. So they had almost a 90,000 viewership drop. Now, if you say to me, DT, well, maybe they all tuned in to NXT during that second quarter hour. NXT's rating in the second quarter only went up 30,000 viewers. So some people just turned off AEW completely at the second quarter hour. So quarter two did 726. Third quarter, which was the interview segment with the Young Bucks and FTR, and the beginning of the Inner Circle MJF Town Hall, that rating only jumped up slightly to 753. The majority of that segment jumped all the way up to 867. That was the high point of the night. So the bulk of the MJF, Chris Jericho Inner Circle Town Hall did the highest rating of the night for AEW. That's interesting when everybody says, oh, everybody watches AEW mostly for the wrestling and it did the highest rating. And after this, it just goes downhill. So you got 867 for the Town Hall. Cody versus Orange Cassidy for the TNT title dropped from 867 to 830. The Best Friends angle with Miro and Kip Sabian, and in a match with Serena Deeb versus Layla Hirsch, that rating went from 830 down to 744. Once again, women's wrestling on AEW TV takes a steep decline. Britt Baker should learn ratings than, what she said. None against her, but Shawn Spears versus VSK and the very beginning of Kenny Omega versus Penta only increased slightly to 766, and the bulk of Kenny Omega versus Penta's match. I know some of you loved that match, but some of you thought I was nuts Wednesday when I said, I don't know how much of a rating that's going to pop. The final quarter, which was their match, dropped from 766 to 748. So that shows you, that's pretty telling as far as AEW goes. The non-wrestling segments got the biggest ratings of the night. So in summary, for AEW that night, we'll use 781 as the average because that was the rating for that night. We had Paige versus Wardlow, 818. Moxley's interview, Eddie Kingston's interview, and then his match with Matt Sydal, 818 down to 726. Young Bucks FTR in the beginning of the Town Hall, 753. The Town Hall, the entire segment, 867. Cody versus Orange Cassidy went to 830. Best friends with against Miro, Kip Sabian, that little segment they did, and Serena Deeb's match went down to 744. 766 for Shawn Spears versus VSK, and the very start of Omega versus Penta, and the main event, 748. 781 was the average rating, main event, 748. Can't say that fans decided to tune into Candice LeRae versus Io Shirai, because that quarter hour only went up 30,000 viewers. So now let's talk about NXT. Hour 1, 888,000 viewers. Impressive. Hour 2, 864 for a composite of 876. Opening quarter, Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest. The first half of that match, 922,000 viewers. I say this seriously. They have been averaging 550, 580,000 viewers. Put a gimmick stipulation behind that match, 922. 922. Happy Halloween with you, to you as well, Wrestling with Wrestling. What's up? Hope everything is well in Canada. I mean that. So 922 to open up. Pretty impressive. The remainder of Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest. I love this. The second half of that match went up. 957. So the highest rating of the night was Johnny Gargano versus Damian Priest. And as the match went on, the ratings went up. So bravo to them. Bravo to them. So their match wrapped up at the second quarter. They had 957. William Regal's confrontation with Cameron Grimes, the Pat McAfee promo that he did with Oney Lorcan and Danny Burch, and then Pete Dunne coming back and attacking Kyle O'Reilly. The rating went down, but not too much. It went from 957 to 892. Still, outstanding number. Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas dropped to 780,000. A much lower drop than I thought it would be. 780 for Jake Atlas versus Santos Escobar. Interesting. Very interesting. The part 1 of the Haunted House match with Dexter Lumis and Cameron Grimes jumped back up to 850,000 viewers. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez jumped up to 901,000 viewers. The second half of the Haunted House match and the Tommaso Ciampa promo dropped from 901 to 812. And then the main event of Io Shirai versus Candice LeRae did 844. So if you think about it, hour 2, you take away, really just the Rhea Ripley, Raquel Gonzalez match. Hour number 2 is a little disappointing if you break it down. So again, 876 is where the average is. You started 922, Gargano versus Priest, 957 for the second quarter, same match, 892, still above the whole night's average with the Pete Dunne, Pat McAfee, everything with that, and William Regal with Cameron Grimes. Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas went down to 780. Part 1 of the Haunted House did 850. Rhea Ripley versus Raquel Gonzalez did 901. The second half of the Haunted House match dropped all the way down to 812. And then the main event went to 844. So the main event was 32,000 viewers lower than the average. On the AEW side, the main event was 47,000, 33,000 viewers less than the average. So the high point of the night would be quarter 5, because quarter 5, NXT did 850,000 viewers, and NXT did 850, AEW did 830. So they were almost at 1.7. Well, did I say 1.9 million earlier? It's really 1.7 million. 1.7 million. That's pretty much so. 1.7 million viewers That's pretty damn impressive because last week, their ratings were not all that great. And I know what you're going to say, the World Series last week and this and that. It's not the point. You follow it every week. Both shows, the numbers have been a little bit lackluster. So, Kavan, I agree with you. Wrestling on Wednesday nights could be hit or miss. Obviously, the hype for Halloween Havoc had people planning on watching it. But the one thing it's safe to say that we have realized looking at this week in and week out, is that you don't see, when you see the 100,000 viewership drop, you don't see those fans suddenly tuning into the competitor. The only exception might be the Inner Circle segment with MJF, because that went from quarter 3 to quarter 4, all right? And quarter 3 to quarter 4 for AEW went up 114,000 viewers. That same quarter 3 to quarter 4 for NXT went down 112,000 viewers. So that's a case where you can say that a lot of fans tuned away from NXT and said, we don't want to watch Santos Escobar versus Jake Atlas. We're going to watch MJF in the Inner Circle instead. But almost every time we see a substantial drop, you usually don't see that drop go to the other competition. So you usually don't get where people say, they tuned away from this to watch this. It rarely ever happens. You usually will see a drop on both sides. And again, the main event on both sides, disappointing numbers. Both main events did lower than the average. So by the end of the night, only about 1.5 million were watching wrestling. You usually want to build up to the main event. Wasn't the case this week. So anyway, I hope you enjoyed this episode. I'm surprised we were able to go this long, but great conversation as always, everyone. I tell you, I feel a lot better than early on. I started drinking the tea. I took the medicine. I started getting a little bit of a cold sweat. But as the show went on, I guess from not thinking about it, it's I feel pretty good right now. I'm still going to go take myself some NyQuil and pass out, but I hope you all enjoyed it. Before you leave, if you enjoyed the show, I'd appreciate it if you gave it a thumbs up. Helps me get a little bit more visibility as suggestions on other people's browsing habits. And I always love, a hater out there. Just I wonder how they react when they see it show up as a suggestion. I guarantee there's some of them that just because it shows up as a suggestion, thumbs down. It's all good, everybody. Doesn't bother me. But I thank you all for tuning in. Don't forget, this Monday, Mish and I will be doing Breakfast Soup Raw. We will recap Raw. We'll discuss any news from over the weekend. I don't know if we're going to discuss the financials yet. I'll talk to Mish. If that's something that he's not. And something tells me a lot of you may not all be that interested in it either. So maybe I'll save that for one of my solo shows next week. But for those on Patreon that were asking about the predictions contest, I will be tallying it up, everybody's scores over the weekend. So we'll have a winner by the end of the weekend for sure. For those in the United States, obviously the Don Tony show does not air again until next Friday. By then, we probably know who our next president is going to be. I just hope to God we don't have insane uproar, violence, riots. There's going to be. I just hope that it's cooler heads prevail. I'm very concerned. But one thing I promise you is when we do the show, nothing but love over here, nothing but positive, have fun. We could be critical and have fun at the same time without, demeaning. But, we'll have fun nonetheless. And if you are on our Patreon, don't forget, next Tuesday, election night, Mish and I are going to start an hour later, which will be 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to do, half of the show is going to be like a regular Breakfast Soup episode, but the other half is also going to be talking about the results that are coming in from the election. And if we possibly, for anybody that goes back with me a long ways, this is a big statement for me to say. But I have a feeling we will know who our next president is going to be Tuesday night. And if that happens, Tuesday night's episode on Patreon may end up being like the Benoit episode. Because when we did that Benoit episode, the night of the murder-suicide, we opened up our show, which was called The Minority Report at that time. We opened up that show paying tribute to Chris Benoit. And as the night went on, more information started to come out. And by the end of the night, we realized and knew that Chris Benoit killed his family. So it was just very eerie. At the beginning of the night, we're paying tribute to Benoit. By the end of the night, we were spitting on his grave. He wasn't even buried yet. That was a wild and memorable episode. Just for some reason, I haven't had that feeling about an episode since then. And I have a weird feeling we may get something similar Tuesday night, where at the beginning of the night, we're going into it thinking we won't know who will be the next president. We won't know for a few days. But by the end of the night, we may end up knowing, and Lord knows what is going to go on. So I say a prayer for everyone. Which of Neil's super chat did I forget? I'm looking. We got the Slurp, Billy K, Attitude Era. No, I didn't. I don't think I forgot any over here. I'm looking over here. No. What did I forget? The T1? No, Neil. No. But, and I'll prove it to you that I didn't forget. Hold on 1 second. Hold on. Let me find it. You're talking about this. Early in the night, you might remember that I said, look, everybody on audio only. Neil wants me to tell you something, from the bottom of his heart, But in case, you know what? My memory's kind of shot right now. The more I think about it, I don't think I did address it earlier. So just in closing, for those, hey, just fun intended. To those on audio only right now, Neil, unfortunately, I can't play a soundbite for him, but he just wanted me to tell you, for all your loyalty and support, he just wanted me just to say the following to you. Oh, it's cold. Yeah. And you know what's so bad about it? It's, I'm on this keto diet. So they have a fake sweetener called Swerve. Swerves are great in wrestling. In real life, sometimes a swerve is great too. This motherfucker swerved me, But they have a fake sweetener called Swerve. It doesn't affect your blood sugar level. So I made tonight 2 tea bags of lemon zinger, and I added a thing of Swerve to it. And when the tea gets ice cold, then the Swerve, oh my God, oh, I don't even want to say what I'd rather eat right now than this. Oh, it's so bad. Oh, but yeah. So, much love, everybody. I hope you had a good time tonight. I hope you enjoyed the weekend. Obviously, we got an interesting week coming up, but hopefully, we can focus more on the wrestling and, cooler heads will prevail no matter who ends up being our president and stuff. But, I'm sure we'll have a little convo on Monday, Mish and I, and maybe I'll reveal Monday my gut feeling of what I think is going to end up with the election, because I have a belief. I'm still, as of right now, I'm not voting. Maybe I changed my mind last minute, but as of right now, I'm just not happy with either one, to be honest with you. So, everybody, have a great night. All the best. And don't forget, if you want one of these, I'll make more of these. If you want, I'll do a whole shmoo of them. I'll do them with Peter Avalon. Remember the brown eye? I'll get really, really creative. We'll do some really, really funny ones if you want. So, but everyone, all the best. Much love as always. I'm going to jet out of here, and have a great weekend, everyone. Stay safe. Stay cool. Oh, I almost forgot. This Saturday night, I think you turn the clocks back an hour. Remember, fall back Spring ahead. So this Saturday night, 2 a.m., you know what that means? Last week on Discord, Mish, myself, we all played Jackbox 7 once again. We also now play Among Us, which is a game that people are starting to really get into with the imposters and everything like that. Last Saturday we played and it was hilarious. We're doing it again this Saturday, and the clocks get turned back an hour, so that means we get an extra hour of gaming. So if you're not doing anything Saturday night and you'd like to pass by, go to our Discord channel. It's open to everybody, and you could play the games with us, because last week we had a pretty big audience and it was a lot of fun, man. So you're more than welcome to join us. And the best part about it is with Jackbox, you don't have to have the software. You don't have to pay for anything. You don't have to buy anything. Among Us, I think you have to have the software also, but I believe on iPhone and Android, I think it's free to download. On Steam, I think I paid $4.99 for it. But you could download the game for free in a lot of areas. So it's a free night. So I don't want anybody to think they have to buy software and download it and stuff. But yeah, stop by, man. And not only that, we talk about wrestling. We talk about wacky things. And sometimes we have a good laugh at each other. So... But, all right, everybody, I'm out of here. Much love as always, and I'll catch you all again Monday night after Raw. Take care, everybody. Ciao.